This is Josiah Plays Dungeons & Dragons. This is the official launch of the Sands of Slavery. Heavy role-playing, 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign set in the nation of Calimshan in the Forgotten Realms. I already ran several sessions of this campaign with the same characters, but with a completely different set of players. That was my test run for the game, and it was not based heavily on role-playing, but this, the official permanent campaign, will be based heavily on in-character role-playing, with much more dialogue and description. There are several house rules in which I will be using in this campaign. A link to this document can be found in the description of the video below. Other than these house rules, it will be standard 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons. The cast of characters is as follows. First, we have Valinar of Kalimport, a Wind-Soul Genasi sword mage, played by Kava. And then there is Valinar's partner, Howling Sky, a long-tooth shifter ranger, played by Stoila. Next is Sister Ashani, a Kalashtar scion, played by Val. And then Ashani's adoptive sister, Sister Ramaka, a dwarf, hybrid, battle-mind shaman, played by Baba. Next we have Sir Zax the Hulking, a bugbear rogue, played by Brian. And the final character is Zax's liege, Princess Kyria, an Eladrin warlord, played by me, Josiah. I hope that you enjoy watching this campaign and come back and watch many more episodes. And now, with no further ado, we jump into the game. All I need to discuss about out-of-character stuff. So, getting into the game itself. Each of your characters have traveled to the land of Calimshan. You all have your own reasons for going there. Zax and Kyria are going to look for evidence of what might have happened to Kyria's mother, who mysteriously disappeared, and no one knows why. Howling Sky is seeking out a monster that destroyed her tribe, known as a Malagrim, a hideous abomination, an aberration. Something that should not exist in the world, but it can take human form and blend in, so it's been very hard to track down. But she's learned that a creature meeting the description has been recently seen in Calimshan. So she came here, and Valinar, of course, came with her to help her with that. Ashani had a dream vision of a place of great suffering and oppression, and of a massive number of people living in enslavement and being treated harshly, and their suffering bleeding out across the realms. And as an adherent of the path of light, she felt called to try to go down there and see if there's something she could do about that in order to spread the light. And with her is, of course, her stalwart sister, Ramaka. So you've all have your own reasons for coming. Now, each of you knows some things about Calimshan. Valinar is from Calimshan, so he knows all of this very well. Kyria is into history, and she read a lot of history books when she was growing up, and so she knows about Calimshan from her reading. And Ashani and Ramaka would have studied up on the land somewhat before journeying here so that they knew what they were going into. So I'm going to tell you all, in basic terms, what the land of Calimshan is about. It is a desert nation. Long ago it was not a desert, but it was made into a desert by elemental devastation caused by a great magical war. It was originally founded around 9,000 years ago by Jinn from Zakara. Zakara is an area on the world of Toril that is outside of Faerun. Faerun is the sort of normal area called the Forgotten Realms, and that's like basically the continent of the Forgotten Realms. And Faerun is roughly analogous to Europe, where they have the East, which is Karatur, and they have an area that's analogous to the Middle East, which is called Zakara. So Jinn, which are a type of genie, genies which are tied to the elemental plane of air, came from Zakara to this land and founded a nation around 9,000 years ago. And then, shortly thereafter, the Ifrit came. The Ifrit are another type of genies. These ones are aligned with fire. And the Jinn and the Ifrit went to war with each other. And this was called the First Era of Skyfire. It was a 400-year-long war between the two types of genies and all of their servants. It caused massive devastation to the land, turned it into a desert. The First Era of Skyfire ended when the two leaders of these factions, Calim, the Genie, and Memnon, the Afridi, were bound into a crystal called the Calimemnon Crystal by Elven High Magic. And that stopped the war. And they have been bound into that crystal ever since. After that, Calimshan became a human nation, and has been mostly populated by humans from then on. It is, in fact, the oldest human nation in Faerun, and it had the largest city in the world, Kalimport. That is the city that Valinar is from. However, Kalimport has fallen into hard times and lost a great deal of its population. It's no longer the largest city, but it's still a pretty large city. Around 60,000 people, which is big for a setting like this. When the era of Skyfire ended, the elemental races were banned from Calimshan, and that means any races that had any elemental ties, any type of genies, and it also included genasi, which is what Valinar is. So any genasi or other races like that who wanted to stay in Calimshan had to disguise themselves as normal humans and hide their elemental powers, so they learned how to do so. And for thousands of years, there were genasi living in Calimshan in hiding, not revealing their true nature. In 1385, it's 1479 right now, that's the year. In 1385, so almost 100 years ago, in the year of Blue Fire, there was an event called the Spell Plague. And this was a world-shaking, cataclysmic, apocalyptic sort of event that completely changed the face of the realms and caused all kinds of problems when the goddess of magic died. And the Spell Plague was this huge cataclysm that affected everywhere in the realms. And one of the places it affected was Calimshan. Because of the Spell Plague, the Calimemnon Crystal, which was binding the two extremely powerful genies, was shattered. And Calim and Memnon reappeared, and they started their war back up. And when they came back, a huge number of people in Calimshan that were thought to be humans suddenly revealed themselves to actually be genasi. And they came out of hiding and they joined the war on one side or the other. And when this happened, the genies and the genasi then enslaved all of the humans. Not just humans, but other races that lived there as well. They enslaved everybody that lived there that wasn't a genie or a genasi. Particularly in the two main cities, which are Kalimport and Memnon. And they converted tens of thousands of people to slavery as they waged their destructive war, and again began devastating the land. This war has been going on since then, and is still ongoing. From 1385, the year of Blue Fire when the Spell Plague happened, up until 1450, which was 29 years ago from present day, Valinor was 4 years old in 1450. There was a second era of Skyfire from 1385 to 1450 because the two massive genies and their armies were fighting again. So they called it the second era of Skyfire. But in 1450, for some reason, nobody knows why. Nobody knows what happened, but something happened which banished Calim and Memnon back to the elemental chaos from which they came, and they've been unable to return. However, even with the leaders of the two factions gone, the forces of air and fire continued to war with one another. And Valinor, of course, was a soldier in this war. He fought in this war for 10 years, or no, I think it was 6, actually. Several years he fought in this war, and then he got disillusioned by it. So that's what's going on in the country. It is a desert nation. It is inspired by Arabian Nights sort of fantasy. All the people that aren't genies or genasi are enslaved and being completely oppressed and being forced to serve as fodder in these wars. These wars are ongoing, and they're continuing to wreak magical devastation on the land, which is something that the primal spirits of the land are not happy about. They are under assault by this arcane conflagration. So that's something that Ramaka would care about. And Ashani cares about the slaves themselves. So that's what's happening here. Now there is one place left. One city called Almriven. And it is a city of great magical knowledge. It has many schools of magic and many scholars, and because they had so much magical power, they were able to resist, and they're also kind of far away from Kalimport and Memnon. They were able to resist the uprising and prevent everyone there from being enslaved. So that is the last free city for humans and human-like races. It's the last free city, and that is where you have all journeyed, because if you were to travel to one of the other big cities in Calimshan, you would very likely be forced into slavery if you were caught. Or Valinor himself might face some consequences as a deserter. If he went to Memnon, he would be killed, because Memnon is the city of the fire elementals, the city of the Efreet, and he fought on the other side of the war, and he is a wind soul genasi, so they would kill him. And if he went back to Kalimport, he would be a known figure there who could very easily be arrested for desertion. And everybody else besides Valinor would be potentially enslaved. So you really only had one city that you could go to search for information, or try to make allies, or try to gather resources, or whatever it is that you need to do. And that is Almriven, the free city. So you all went there. As pairs, of course. You haven't met each other yet as a group. And you've been there for a little while. You've each been seeking your own aims, but so far you haven't had much luck. You've found the culture to be very difficult to deal with as outsiders. As northerners, you are considered to be barbarians. Obviously this doesn't apply to Valinor. But Valinor has a special prejudice against him in this city as well, because he is of the race of the slavers. He is viewed with distrust. you know, people assume he's probably some kind of agent from Calimport and there to, you know, try to erode the liberty or something. So Valinar himself faces prejudice, and everyone else faces some prejudice simply for being not from Calimshan. You've learned that the Kalashites believe themselves to be superior than every other nation in the world. They think they're more educated, they think they have a better culture, and they consider you all barbarians. And because you're not known here in this city and you don't know anyone or have any allies, you found it extremely difficult to get information or to get into the kinds of places, like the kinds of halls of learning and to the sages who'd have all kinds of knowledge. You found it difficult to get into these places because of your social status here, which is very, very low. So, even though you've been here perhaps a few months, so far you've had no luck. You've still had to pay the bills, however, so you've all sort of taken on jobs as you could, as adventurers, using your skill set for whichever employers you could, so that you would have the money to continue living and continue seeking what you're seeking. In so doing, you have gained a certain reputation. All of you, as a pair, again, you've done a good job with the jobs that you've taken, and you've dealt with the people honorably, and you haven't betrayed anyone, and you haven't cheated anyone, and you've always got the job done, and so you've gotten a decent reputation, each pair of you, as trustworthy and competent adventurers. Even if that's not really what you're trying to do here, it's kind of what you've been forced to do by the economic and social realities of the situation. And that is the situation that you are all in currently, as the game begins. So, we're going to start with Zax and Kyria. And this is all going to be a little bit weird since I'm role-playing Kyria as well, but Brian here
we'll make it work.
He'll make it work. He'll take up the slack. So, Brian, you and Kyria are walking through the streets. You've just recently completed a small job, and you have a little bit of money, not much. And you're talking amongst yourselves. Kyria is frustrated, as she has gotten increasingly so recently. Zax, I don't know if we're ever going to find anything about my mother. So far, nobody knows anything, and the people who might know something refuse to see us.
That's how these people are.
You get a lot of looks, by the way, Zax. Obviously, you're a bugbear. You haven't seen any other bugbears in Almriven, and you get a lot of looks. And sometimes people just straight up refuse to deal with you, and then Kyria will try to smooth things over, and sometimes she's successful and sometimes she's not. But you feel the discrimination against you particularly in this city, as you do in most human cities.
Yeah, nothing new there.
I just don't know what to do, Zax.
We keep
Nobody
doing
will
what
see
we
us.
do.
I wonder, and she looks around, kind of quiets her voice, I wonder, do you think I should tell people who I am? I mean, that would open doors for us. But then the other problem is, if I reveal myself, I'm worried that people will come from home and try to take me back and force me to go back with them. And I don't want to do that. So I don't say anything, as you know, but I'm wondering if I should.
Risks. Rewards. Hard to say. I'd keep quiet for now.
She looks like she's about to say something else, but as she does, you are interrupted by a small boy who approaches the two of you. And he walks up to Zax and he tugs on his sleeve. Now, he's looking up at you, and you can tell there is some awe and sort of wonder in his eyes as he looks at you, but surprisingly, he doesn't look to be afraid of you at all. He looks like he's looking at something that he's never seen before, and he's fascinated by you, but he doesn't look afraid or hateful or anything. And the boy looks like this. Can everybody see that?
Aww.
I'm going to bring him out here and just blow him up a little bit on the...
Don't blow him up.
Well,
Come on, man.
not explode him, but I'm just going to put him out here, so there he is. So this boy comes up, and he does look very ragged, as you see in the picture there. He's got very dark skin and very, very ragged clothes. He's poorly dressed, and you see smudges of dirt on his cheeks and so forth. And he is carrying a satchel, which unusually doesn't look very ragged. The satchel that he's carrying, it looks pretty nice actually. And he comes up and he tugs on your sleeve, and he says, "Hey, you. Excuse me a minute."
Zax just sort of looks down at him, like, curious, but he doesn't say anything yet.
Here he says, "And who is this young master? Can we help you, young man?" He looks at her, and he kind of just keeps looking for a while. He seems suitably impressed. He says, "All right, well," he lets go of Zax's sleeve. "Right, I have something for you. I think you're the ones I'm looking for, right? Are you?" And he points at Zax. He says, "You're, Zax, right? You kind of have to be, because I think you're the only, well, one of what you are in the whole city, as far as I know. I've never seen anyone else like you, so you gotta be him. Are you him?"
Yeah, I'm Zax.
"And
Can
that
I
would
help
make you," and he looks over at Kyria, "that would make you Kyria, right?" "It's Kyria, but yes, that is me." "Oh, okay, good. In that case, I have something for you." And he fishes around in the satchel, and he pulls out a sealed letter. It's sealed with wax, but it's not, there's no signet embossed into the wax. And he hands it to you, Zax.
Thanks. Zax pretty immediately hands the letter over to Kyria.
She says, "Actually, Zax, I think you should read it. You've been working on your reading, and I think you're quite good at it now. It will be good for you to practice more. Here, read it, Zax." Alright, I'm gonna post the text of the letter into the Roll20 chat, and you can read it out loud as your character.
Oh boy. Alright, here we go.
There it is.
Okay. Your name has made its way to the ears of the powerful, and your reputation. Yeah, thank you.
It's reputation, Zax, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what reputation means, don't you?
That's when people think I should kill because I'm good at it, right?
Yes, basically.
All right. Reputation speaks well of you. Although you do not know it yet, you have an important ally here in Almriven. One who is waiting to help you. If you would hear an offer which will be of great benefit to you, come to a cave. What's a cave?
A cave? I don't know. Is that some Alzado word?
What is it? Boy, what is a cave?
The boy looks at it, and to your surprise, it looks like he can actually read. He says, it's a cafe, not a cave. That is pronounced cafe. It's like a little restaurant, you know, where they have drinks and food and such, like, you know.
Then why not say restaurant?
Well, I don't know. You know how fancy people are. They like to just make up lots of words for things so they can feel superior to everyone.
True. All right, come to a cafe on Brass Street called the Saffron Breeze today at high sun.
Is that all it says, Zax? Sir Zax?
Zax, examines the letter and turns it around and looks at it from different angles, but then he nods and
That's it.
What are the passive... Wow, you guys are terrible at that. Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay, actually I knew that you were, that's why I picked you first.
haha.
The Saffron Breeze? She takes the letter from you and looks it over herself. Also, by the way, I just gave you a fate point, Brian, because that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
Well, that sounds like a nice place. I do enjoy saffron. She looks at the boy. He's still standing there looking at you expectantly, and he's also examining. He's kind of looking around your back, examining your gear and stuff, and he seems to be pretty fascinated by your great chain. He reaches out one small brown hand and touches one of the spikes on the chain. And he says, "Why you got this then? Is this a weapon?"
Yes. It's a very good one. Would you like to see how it works?
Now you see his eyes widen a little bit in fear. Is that a threat? He looks like he's getting ready to run.
Kyria, tell him not like that.
Don't worry, little one. She reaches down and pats him on the head. Zax here is actually quite gentle. He wouldn't hurt you, would you, Sir Zax?
No, of course not.
What you mean, Sir Zax? Sir, like one of them fancy knights? He looks at you up and down and goes, "You don't look like one of them fancy knights." Sorry for saying.
No, I don't.
Yes, but in his heart he has the nobility of a knight. He has earned his title. The boy looks kind of confused. He says, "Okay then, I guess. Whatever, but anyway, tell me more about the chain."
Well, I can take it by one end and swing it around like this, or I can grab it in the middle and then bunch it up.
Are you swinging it around?
Yes, Zax is demonstrating. He's not full force or anything, but he's demonstrating basically how you might start to use it.
People that are walking by are trying to get as far away as possible, and they're looking with these horrified looks on their face at this bugbear swinging a chain around in the middle of the street. Yeah, you're getting some really dirty looks.
They're all weak-minded and simple peasants.
You see Kyria staring back at the people that are staring at you with a really cold look in her eye. And when they see her gaze, they sort of avert their own and just walk past quickly. She's got that scary look that she can get in her face sometimes. You're familiar with it.
That's really cool. I still don't really understand why you fight with that, though. I mean, it's pretty weird. It's really big. It looks really heavy, and I don't know. Why not just use a knife or something? Or a sword, at least?
Well, you know how to use a knife or sword, right? You cut.
Well, yeah.
But with a knife and sword, that's all you can do is just cut.
Okay. And you can do other stuff with that?
Yes, this can cut, this can bash, this can bind. You tie it around someone, pull it tight, they can't move. Also, it cuts them. It does many things all at once. Very good weapon.
Oh, alright. Well, I guess that seems pretty, practical, then.
Much more than you might think.
He eyes the whip that's coiled up on Kyria's belt, and his nose wrinkles up, and he looks at her kind of sidelong.
I says, what about you? Are you a slave?
He looks back at Zax with a dawning look of realization.
He says, are you a slave? Is she a slaver? Are you a slaver?
And, she looks kind of mortified. Do you say anything?
How many knights do you know that are slaves,
Well, I don't know any knights. Or slaves, because there's no slaves in Armriven.
Kyria says,
Well,
Don't worry. I am no slaver, and he is most certainly not a slave. In fact, part of the reason he fights with that chain is as a symbol of taking back his freedom from those who would deprive him of it.
She tells me that's called a metaphor.
The boy kind of looks confused by this. He goes,
Alright, well, okay. I don't really understand what you're all talking about right now, but I do know that I need, the traditional delivery tip for bringing you that message. I mean, if you don't mind, you look like you've got money.
Kyria sighs.
And how much is this traditional delivery tip, young man? Well, a silver coin?
He says kind of hopefully.
Okay.
Zax sort of pulls Kyria back, and then he puts like the hand beside his mouth to whisper, but he's a bugbear, so he's not whispering like that quietly at the moment. He's like,
Do you have any silver? Because I don't.
So this is a time I'm going to step out of character again for a second here and tell you guys something else. For this campaign, I'm not going to track silver and copper coins. I'm only going to track gold, which means you can assume that your character has some silver and copper on you at any given time, and if you need to spend small amounts of silver or copper coins for something, you can simply do so as a role-playing thing without deducting it from your gold.
alright, cool, that's helpful. Alright, yeah, then in that case, Zax, like, grins down at the boy, pulls out 2 silvers, and holds them up.
How about this?
Well, that's great. You're a good tipper. Thanks.
He reaches out, tries to grab the coins. You give them to him?
Yeah, I give him the coins.
He says, oh, you're so generous, Sir Zax. That is good. I'm proud of you.
Maybe he can buy himself some chain with that.
She frowns. He kind of looks, his face kind of lights up like he's considering the possibility. She says, no, boy, do not buy yourself some chain.
buy yourself some food and some better clothing. Under no circumstances should you listen to him about the chain, though. It's a ridiculous idea, Sir Zax.
Of course not. And then Zax winks over Kiria's shoulder.
Okay. Alright, well then, I got more messages to deliver, so I'll be off then. Thanks, though. You know what? And he looks at Zax. You aren't so bad. I mean, you look really scary and everything. And they said you're a monster, but you're really nice. I'm gonna tell people, so they know they don't have to be scared of you. Bye. And he runs off. I mean, you could say something else to him before he runs off if you want.
Nah, that's good.
Okay. So, that's where you guys are at. Kyria looks at you. She's holding the letter. She says, I don't know what this is about. Of course it's possible that it's some kind of trap, but who here would even want to entrap us? We're no one important. Well, okay, technically I am extremely important, but no one here knows that. So, I think we should go check this out.
Of course. If it is a trap, whoever said it won't be around to reap the rewards. Isn't that what you say?
I guess. Listen, I trust you to take care of me, right? You will make sure that we are safe. You will keep your eyes open and your big, adorably fluffy ears, and we will be fine. Is that right?
Of course.
Good then. We shall do it. And that's, now that that's decided, we're gonna move on to Valinar and Howling Sky. Stoila, were you having trouble with your mic?
Oh, I'm all good.
Okay, so, and Kava, you're also here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. So the two of you are also walking through the streets in Calimshan, in the market district. And what is it that you are discussing as we enter the scene?
Diarifa, have faith. We will find this Malaugerim. Perhaps we have not had the best of luck. But have faith that something brought you here.
We've been searching for a long time, and we haven't found anything.
That is often where it all begins. There is always something in that absence, in that void.
Her ears just like flick in that way that you know, and she's really angry.
Tairifa, I know this is frustrating, and you know, I do not want to be here. I would not ever have come back here if it wasn't for you.
Fine. Can we get food?
Valinor looks over and smirks. Are you still hungry?
Yes.
We had
And she's like-
breakfast.
There you go.
We just had breakfast.
That was too long. Hungry.
Very well. Where would you like to go? What
Excuse me.
tickles your
Excuse me.
fancy?
I don't mean to interrupt you. You see the boy, the same boy as before. And
he comes up to you. Excuse me, and he's got his satchel.
He like actively growls at him.
All right, Howling Sky is very perceptive, so she actually notices some things about this boy as he approaches that Zax and Kyria did not notice. She notices there's something off about him as he walks up. There's just something not right. Like, he doesn't appear to be what he seems he is. He looks like he's trying to look like a poor street urchin, but there's details in him. The way that he walks seems a little too upright, and you notice that his hair and his fingernails seem quite well groomed for a supposed street urchin. And even his skin, there are places where dirt, it looks like, has been sort of smeared on his skin, but in the other places, his skin actually looks very clean, as does his hair. So you just get a sense that, like, this is a boy pretending to be a street urchin.
I didn't pick up on any of that, did I?
No, you didn't pick up on it.
Okay.
She's just gonna like growl at him and like actively sniff him, like.
What? Do I smell? I mean,
Clean.
Actually, yeah, to your surprise, he does not stink the way he should.
She's gonna, yeah, she's clean.
well, I'm not all that clean. I mean,
He rubs on his cheek on one of the spots of dirt and shows you on his fingertip the dirt there.
see, I'm not clean. I don't get to bathe like them fancy folks.
Hi, Rifa. This is but a child. Please do not scare him. Hello, young sir.
You can tell he's obviously hiding something, Howling Sky. But you don't detect any. What's your insight again?
5,
15.
not anything.
Okay, yeah, passive
And-
insight 15, that's good. So, it doesn't seem like he's sinister, it just seems like he's hiding something. So he looks at Valinar and he kind of looks you over carefully. He looks at the power lines marking your skin and the sort of frost crystals that grow out of the top of your head. That's the typical for the Wind Soul manifestation of Genasi.
And he says, "Are you sure you're in the right city? I don't really think you people are very well liked here. I mean, no offense."
And what do you mean by you people?
Well, you know, you masters, the ones that try to enslave us, all the humans. Do you have slaves?
And Valinar sort of, for a moment, he gazes into the emptiness, and it's almost as though he's not there. I am not a master. I have never had slaves, will never have slaves.
Oh, alright, well that's good then. I got a question. I am looking for a certain genasi of your type, and one with a sword and such, and with a dog lady with him. Are you the dog lady?
Oh, she's just disconnected. She's not gonna like being called a dog lady.
That's why she disconnected. She was so mad.
Did you hear that last bit, Stoila? Are you having problems with technical difficulties right now?
I'm back. Sorry, it's raining like crazy and it's messing with my internet connection.
Oh, all right, all right. Hopefully it keeps working. This little boy just said to Valinar that he was looking for a genasi of his description with a sword, who has a dog lady with him.
Oh, she full on barks at him. Like,
He looks pretty alarmed. He jumps back.
Hey! Don't bite me! She's not gonna bite me, is she? Is she gonna bite me? There's people watching! Look,
I might.
everybody! If anybody bites me right now, you can see it, right? We aren't allowed biting in this city. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's the law.
and she's just gonna like get very much in his personal space, just like it is very much in his personal space, not doing anything.
I put a hand on her shoulder. Diarifa, I have not seen you like this. What is the matter?
He smells funny.
I don't smell funny. Here, smell me!
And he walks over and kind of like lifts his armpit in the direction of Valinar.
And Valinar sort of lifts his nose away from the armpit. What do you mean funny?
Like, and she's sitting there trying to think of the right word for it. Flower?
Flower.
Yes.
Anyway, are you him?
He looks at this name on this letter that he's got in his hand.
Valinar? Is that you? Valinar?
I look over at the boy. Perhaps. And why does a street urchin smell like flowers?
Oh, I don't know. I don't. Look, I got this letter for you. You want it, right? I mean, I don't know nothing about no flowers.
He holds it out towards you.
She sniffs it.
Smells like ink and paper and wax. Not smells that she would be super familiar with.
I take it from him.
He says, what are you? He says to Howling Sky. I mean, I didn't mean to insult you when I called you a dog lady. I just didn't know what to call you.
Howling Sky. That's all she says.
He looks at the sky. Looking around at the sky like...
Howling? I don't hear any howling. Well, okay. Right.
He kind of looks down at his feet. He seems sort of awkward in this moment. So, do you read the letter?
Yes. So I turn the paper over in my hands. I inspect it, and then I read it.
Alright, it says the same thing as the other one did. Oops.
Child, who gave you this letter?
Oh, I can't tell you that.
And why ever can you not?
Because if I tell you, then I won't get any more letters to deliver, and then I will starve.
Gonna lick some of the dirt off of his face.
You just get down there and lick his face? Oh my god. He freaks out. He flails his arms, jumps back, trips, falls down, kind of rolls on the ground to get away from you. Kind of jumps up in all fours. Now he's in like kind of a feral crouch, and he's rubbing at his face.
I thought we said no biting. What were you trying to do to my face?
Tastes good.
I think she likes you.
I don't really, I don't know.
He looks really confused.
Anyway, I gave you the letter, and now, if you could just, give me the standard messenger delivery tip, I'll be on my way.
You mean
Yep.
that wolf kiss was not enough for you?
That was not a kiss. I don't know what that was, but I didn't like it.
He frowns, like, very visibly.
Why are you so mean? He says to Howling Sky. You're not a slave, are you?
She, like, looks at Valinar with that look that she gets when she doesn't understand what a word means.
Slave. Slave is when you are owned by someone else.
He, like, looks back at the boy and glares at him and is like, no.
Alright then, what you got to be mad about? You got pretty nice clothes, armor, and weapons, all that stuff. I bet you got some gold in your purse there. It doesn't look like it's empty, and not that I would be looking at your purse or anything, but you're not a slave. You don't look sick or hurt, so why are you so angry? Life's good for you, should be.
Her ears flick again.
Well, he looks back at Valinar. If you could just drop me a silver for the job well done, I can leave you alone.
I kneel down, look into his eyes. In just a moment, what is your name, child?
My name's Tefera.
Tefera, and I show him the letter. I point to the name of the cafe. Do you know where this place is?
His eyes kind of get shifty for a minute. He's like, nope.
Have you ever been to this place? And I point to the name of the cafe again.
You can tell he's lying, Howling Sky.
He's gonna get
No.
right up behind him. Valinar's, like, in front of him talking to him.
Alright, he seems extremely nervous at this point. He's gonna try to bolt. Are you gonna, one of you gonna try to grab him, or are you gonna let him go?
He's gonna trip him.
That's fucked up.
So mean.
Just tripping children in the streets. That's how it's gonna be.
Can I try to catch him? So
Yeah.
he doesn't hit the ground.
Yeah, I'd say you can do it. You don't have to roll anything. You can do it.
Okay. I say, listen to me, child. You will have your silvers, but we need some honesty.
That's
You
not
have
really
been to
in my
this
skill
place.
set.
Okay. Now, unless you want to be a wolf's dinner, you will be straight with us.
Oh, I forgot she's got the wolf there too. What? That makes her even more intimidating. I forgot about the wolf.
Is that thing friendly?
It's like he just notices the wolf.
Sometimes.
I mean, we're just gonna say that Rain was kind of behind. Did you decide if Rain is male or female?
Rain's male.
All right, so we'll say that Rain was kind of behind Howling Sky this whole time, and so he didn't notice. But now he does. It's like, oh,
Is he friendly?
Sometimes.
Can I pet him?
What?
Can I
No.
pet him? Look, if you
No.
let me pet your pretty dog and give me a couple of silver, I'll tell you how to get to that place.
Before you pet him, let me tell you one thing. This wolf has finely developed senses. He loves nothing better than to eat lying children.
that's fucked up. That's fucked up.
If you pet him and you have not been honest with us, then I cannot save you from him. Now I ask you one more time. Who are you? And who sent you?
Kind of chews on his lower lip for a second, looks around, shifts from one foot to the other.
Alright, listen, I can tell you how to get to there. But I can't tell you who, because I don't know. I don't know, his name, but, yeah. Can I pet the dog now?
I look over at Howling Sky.
Like, makes a gesture, and Rain kind of walks up to him.
All right, so
I'm
he
just-
pets Rain, and he's very affectionate with the dog, or with the wolf, and I don't know. Is Rain just nice and placid about the whole thing, or?
Rain is really not happy about it, and he keeps giving me this look like, why are you making me do this?
And so he does that for just a few seconds, and then he backs up. All right, thanks.
Delivering messages is really hungry work. Haven't eaten in quite a while.
I'm gonna hand him a bread. Or a ration.
Thanks.
And then I'm gonna look up at Valinar with a face of like, did I do good? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Is that what's socially acceptable?
And I smile down at her and nod my head very so slightly.
So now
It
he's
has
just
his-
kind of. Oh, so go ahead.
Oh, she has this big grin on her face.
He says, "Oh, hey, you're actually kind of pretty when you're not scowling or angry like."
She scowls again.
Right. I guess I shouldn't get used to that then.
So he just kind of looks at Valinar kind of expectantly. He starts eating the bread, though. He's eating the bread.
Alright, I flick him a silver coin. Alright, boy. Off you go.
He
Thank you
catches
for
it
the message.
expertly.
He jumps in the air. He says, "Alright, thank you. Enjoy your letter reading and everything. Bye."
And he bolts. So, you guys have this letter.
So, Dairifa, what do you think? Are we walking into a trap?
Probably. I say we do it anyway.
Why not?
Can we get
Perhaps-
food first?
I laugh. Yes, we can get food first.
All right, so you guys are gonna go there at the appointed time.
Yes.
All right, cool. That was pretty good. I like that whole little scene. I'm gonna give you both a fate point as well. So you should have 2 now. I'll be pretty generous with the fate points, honestly. Okay. Moving on. Sorry for the long wait for the 2 of you that are last.
Hey, it was fun.
Baba and Val, you're both still awake?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. You are walking through the streets of Almriven. What
Well-
conversation are you having?
Well, Ramaka's not doing super great with the heat, and she's kind of got her head on her hand on her head, and she's kind of just, in general, exhausted. And she starts talking about the land itself, and she says, "Yeah, this land, it burns, it hurts, and screams. I can feel it behind my eyes. I hope we can leave soon."
So do I, but we haven't made very much progress.
How far along do you think we are?
There's so much pain in this land, but I know you can feel the land itself, but I can feel the people.
If we could only cure it.
I wish that as well.
I don't even know where to begin. And she just kind of trails off and stares out at the sky. And then she accidentally looks at the sun and squints and looks back down at the ground.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. You two are from a very cold, snowy mountain area, and this place is very hot. So it is a big climatological shock for the two of you.
Sadly, I think a conflict that's lasted almost 10,000 years will not be solved quickly.
I suppose we could always dream. And she smiles in kind of like a very soft, joking way.
Now, are you making a joke on the fact that Kalashtar don't dream, or was that not something that you knew?
We'll say I did it on purpose.
Okay. I mean, Ramaka dreams, but Kalashtar literally never dream.
Yeah, we'll definitely say that I did that on purpose, and I'm very funny and smart.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was good. It was. Alright, so a young boy is approaching you. You've heard his description. You see the picture, you know who he is. He's got his satchel, and he's walking up, and he's looking at the two of you. And as he looks at the two of you, he doesn't seem nervous or particularly fascinated or interested. You look like the most normal people, right? I mean, you're not weird races like the others. I mean, a Kalashtar is kind of a weird race, but he doesn't know that you're one of those. He just thinks you're a human. And a standard dwarf, so he walks up casually. Hi!
Hello.
Greetings.
I'm looking
Are
for...
you lost?
Oh, no, I'm not lost. Are you?
No.
Because, you know, I've been known to give directions to people that were lost, and, you know, then they help me out with a little bit of money to fill my empty belly. Very
I
empty.
think we're satisfied with our direction.
Well, at least one of us gets to be satisfied. Anyway, I'm looking for two specific women. One is supposed to be a lovely and exotic-looking northern woman, and one is supposed to be a dwarf woman, and, well, I haven't seen any other pairs of women that included a dwarf today, so I'm thinking you might be them.
I
We
do
might.
apologize, but if you're recruiting for one of those dance halls, we will have to decline once again.
Nice. What? He looks confused. He kind of scrunches up his nose, shakes his head. No, I don't know nothing about no dance halls. Well, I don't even know what it says on this letter that I'm going to give you, because I think I'm going to give you the letter because I think you're the ones. Maybe it does ask you to go to a dance hall. I can't swear to it, but I don't think I'm recruiting for a dance hall. He kind of scratches his head and gets a thoughtful look on his face. Maybe? I don't think so, though. Anyway, you don't look like the dance hall type.
what with all the, armor and weapons and everything. He's obviously referring to Ramaka when he says this, not to Ashani.
She just kind of nods her head knowingly, like, yes, you've got it right.
Anyway, let's see. I've got a couple of names here. And he looks at the envelope. Ashani and Ramaka. Is that you two?
I will simply take the letter from him.
Okay. He lets you.
And I'm gonna mentally read it to my sister.
Oh, nice. The old telepathy thing. Good times. Yeah, I would imagine the two of you communicate telepathically quite often. I mean, you always have to initiate it. Ashani always has to initiate it because, Ramaka doesn't have the power to initiate telepathic conversation with anyone. But you can keep an open link between the two of you as long as you're not using your telepathy with someone else. So you can kind of like keep it's like an open Skype call between the two of you that you can talk back and forth mentally. So
I imagine we'd do that a lot.
You read the letter?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it says what it says there in the Roll20 chat.
Do I recognize this cafe or the area it's in?
You've spent enough time in the city. You know where Brass Street is. You know the part of town where it probably would be. You don't know that specific establishment.
Is it like a nice part of town, or?
It's in the market district.
Okay.
Brass Street's a little bit more of a run-down part of the market district. More kind of smaller, poorer shops on that street. It's less well-traveled. It's kind of off the beaten path a little bit. But it's not like a slum or like filled with ruffians or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
The boy-
Ramaka just kind of tilts her head up just a bit to acknowledge that she's listening to Ashani, and like an indication that she can hear what she's thinking in a way that, like, she thinks that the boy will know what they're doing. But
What,
she's just silent.
Why are you two just standing there not saying anything?
She accidentally just thinks out loud while we're speaking. She doesn't say it, she thinks it, sorry.
Well, so I gave you that, and... What, I got a question for you, he says to Ramaka.
Yes.
Could I hold your axe for a second? I'm not gonna run off with it, I promise.
Oh,
by the way.
Hmm?
By the way, Ramaka also noticed the same things about the boy that Howling Sky noticed.
Oh, okay.
The fact that seems strangely too well groomed and clean, and doesn't really seem like an urchin, even though he's trying to pretend to be.
She doesn't comment on that for now, but she does say that the axe is rather heavy, and he might hurt himself.
Well, yeah, I just want to see how heavy it is. Because for fun. Nobody ever lets me play with their weapons. I mean, I'm not going to play with it. I just mean, like, hold it for a second.
You have to brace yourself and be very careful.
Right, I will.
And she holds the axe out to him, and she keeps a hold of it until she's sure that he can hold it up.
Okay. He holds it in both hands, and he seems, surprised by how heavy it is, but he can hold it up. Wow. How you swing this thing around? I mean, you're just a little, How
much taller than her is he?
Oh, he's not, because he's pretty darn short. I think Ramaka is 5 feet tall exactly, or Ramaka is 5 feet tall exactly. Yeah, she is. So, this boy is, well, they're about the same height, actually. They're about the same height.
Well, it takes years and years of practice and careful training. And perhaps if you would apply the same work to practice to axe work as you do your concealment abilities. I'm sorry, I have no words. I'm so bad at words today. Perhaps you can be able to swing it as well.
Well, I don't know what you mean by concealment abilities. I don't have anything like that. I just work as a messenger sometimes. But, he hands the axe back to you. That's pretty cool. You kind of dreamed about being able to be a warrior or something. But I ain't got nobody to teach me how.
Find a way if you desire it. Sadly, I'm not an instructor.
Right, okay. He looks at Ashani. He says, all the people I delivered these messages to were all, like, well armed. And you're not. So what's your deal?
How many of these messages have you delivered?
Oh.
He looks kind of like you just caught him in something, like he didn't mean to say. And he's like, oh, and he kind of bites his lower lip and his eyes kind of get shifty. Well, you know, I mean, I deliver all kinds of letters of different types from different people to different people. I can't really keep track of them all. Haven't really learned my numbers. But, you know, I deliver messages on a regular basis is all I'm saying. And usually they go to people who have lots of weapons and stuff. And you don't. And so I was wondering what you do, I guess.
Not all weapons are obvious.
Oh, you're some kind of mage or something? Some kind of wizard?
She will just chuckle softly.
Could you cast a spell? Could you show me some magic? Come on. It's just you seem so friendly compared to all the others. All the other big scholars and fancy folk that study magic in this city. None of them ever want to have anything to do with me, but you're really nice and friendly. So, could you show me a little something?
I don't perform tricks.
Okay, fine. Well, then if you two just want to perhaps, offer me the standard messenger tip, I could just take that and go eat something for the first time in 3 days, and you two could go about your business.
Ramaka kind of looks over his clothes and his general appearance as she says, "Isn't a good job well done reward enough?"
He laughs. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Who the hell believes something like that? Listen, if everybody in the world believed that a good job was reward enough, then everybody would starve to death, except for the people who happen to grow food.
You certainly don't look as if you are starving to death.
He looks pretty thin. He's
But
pretty...
she's mentioning the cleanness and stuff.
Yeah.
Kids are skinny.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I am hungry. You think you can detect a tiny bit of breadcrumbs, like
I was going
on
to
his
ask.
chin, or on his little garment that he's wearing.
She just looks at Ashani, like, with a "what should I do" expression.
Ashani will sigh just a little bit and hand him a coin.
What kind of coin?
I'll give him a silver piece.
All
And I
right.
will whisper to my sister, I have no idea what this letter means, but its value could be significant.
We'll have to
Says,
see.
"Oh, well, thank you. You're most generous, most kind, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't think you're barbarians."
Thank you.
Well, that's nice.
Anyway, good luck. Enjoy Almriven, and maybe if you have need of, my guide services, you'll run into me. I usually hang around Silk Square most of the time. So if you're looking for me, you could probably find me there.
What's your name?
I'm Tefera.
Well, stay safe, little Tefera.
Right, I'll do that. Not just one little trick.
No.
Alright. Okay, thanks. Bye. And he takes off. And you are left there with the letter.
Well, we didn't lick him, so I think we did a good job. That was out of character.
Yeah, we had a non-licking encounter. That's good. Nobody tripped him this time. Howling Sky is very physical. I like that.
Yeah. Doesn't say much, but
She gets the
It makes
idea
sense,
across.
though. It makes sense, though. Because she grew up with wolves who don't talk to each other. They communicate in physical ways most of the time, right?
yeah.
Alright. What are you guys doing with this letter?
I suppose we should investigate, but perhaps go a bit earlier than when they say, just in case they're trying to set something up.
Yes, I'm concerned that he has delivered these letters to many well-armed people.
Oh, no doubt. Did you see those breadcrumbs? He's probably filched food from all of them.
Still, we have been looking for these kind of connections.
Perhaps it's guidance.
But I agree, we should be careful.
So I think we're on board with going.
Yeah, we're on board with going. I think we should kind of scope it out in advance. And yeah, I think being the first to arrive would be good.
Okay, cool.
At the very least, we can make a good impression on being punctual.
So, all of you are headed to the Saffron Breeze. Is anybody else trying to go early?
Yeah, actually, Zax would suggest to Kyria, Kyria, you find somewhere to wait. I want to see things out first. Make sure there's no one dangerous looking.
But what if you get into trouble and need my help?
I'll yell very loud. I don't think that's going to happen.
Alright, if it will make you feel better, Sir Zax, I will wait up the street. A block.
Come close to the time, unless I come back and tell you we should go.
Alright, I'll do that. Good luck, Sir Zax. Oh, I forgot. I'm gonna give a fate point to Ramaka and Ashani for them role-playing with the boy.
Hey.
See, part of the
Yay.
reason I'm using these fate points is because ordinarily what I would do is award XP for role-playing. But since I'm not using XP, I don't have any other way to reward you specifically for role-playing, so that's why I'm using the fate points.
Honestly, that's way less complicated.
Yeah. So, anyway. What... I guess Zax is trying to go a little bit early, and Ramaka and Ashani are trying to go early and show up early together. What about Valinar and Howling Sky?
I think we're going to arrive on time, right, Sky?
Yeah, on time, unless Sky gets distracted by something and then we'd end up being late.
Yeah, someone wants to see us, so, we've got no qualms.
Okay, I would say that Ashani and Ramaka arrived first.
Okay.
And
I wanna take a few minutes and just do some like window shopping and just get a feel for kind of the block
okay,
and
that
some of
makes
the
sense.
places around there.
So
Smart.
there is a small square where this place is on Brass Street. This is in perhaps the least trafficked area of the market district. Like, Brass Street is a very long street that has several sections, some of which are much more popular and visited than others. This is sort of the most remote, kind of secluded-ish part of the trade district. And this small square, it has a few little shops, but these are not very wealthy shops. They don't, their wares are kind of cheap and common, and they look like very small businesses. And this Saffron Breeze is there among them. I wouldn't say that it looks run down, that this area looks run down. It just looks very, very pedestrian, very inexpensive. And the buildings around this square are whitewashed adobe. You see a couple of shops that sell basic clothing, and a couple that sell different foodstuffs, and a shop that sells fishing supplies. And then you see the Saffron Breeze, which is an open-to-the-air building. It has a roof, but it doesn't have walls around the outside of it. At least two of the walls, the two walls that face the square, are just large open archways, like several large archways that are just wide open. So it doesn't have like a door that you go through to get into it. You can just walk in right off the square. And you see a big sign on it that's marked by a colorful image of purple flowers blowing in a gust of wind, and it says the Saffron Breeze. So if you're kind of window shopping around at the other little shops around here, I mean, you want to look at like food shops or clothing shops or the fishing shop or what?
We perhaps would like to get some lighter clothes.
I mean, keep in mind, you've been here for, I don't know, like a couple of months, so your clothing, you probably have already purchased suitable clothing for the setting.
Or perhaps maybe one or two more scarves, because these ones get a little sweaty a little fast.
Ooh, that is a good idea.
See, this is something I didn't have in the other group. Nobody went scarf shopping, and the game was worse for it.
Yeah, see, this is important.
Wearing the appropriate clothing for the adventure is important.
Exactly. Alright, so you do find a place that sells some very basic scarves. They're like the cheapest material. I mean, they look reasonably well made. They're not crappy or anything, but they're
itchy?
No.
Oh, good.
Have they dyed at all?
Yeah, they have several colors.
I'm assuming that they're not like in patterns, they're just kind of like single colors.
Single colors, yes.
Well, Ramaka would look at the lighter ones, just, lighter's better in this kind of situation. I think she'd just go for simple, plain colors. She's not, like, too flashy.
I don't mind picking something up that will help me fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so there are two kinds of scarves. There are the cheapest ones, which are 2 copper apiece, and there are some somewhat nicer ones, just made out of a nicer material, a little more durable, that are 5 copper apiece.
Oh, I think we'd get nice ones.
Yeah, that's not really too much of a difference in price for nicer material. And lasting longer is more important than cheap.
So the proprietor is a strangely young-looking tiefling, which is surprising as he comes out from the back room to see a tiefling here all of a sudden. I mean, there are a few tieflings in the city that you've seen, but they're quite rare. And to find one in a random little clothing shop in the middle of the, poorest part of the trade district is a little bit unexpected.
Oh, hello. Is there something I can help you fine ladies with?
Oh, greetings.
Hello.
I believe we would like to acquire these scarves.
Very well. How many would you like?
Oh.
It's always good to have extras,
3 each? So
Sure.
we can rotate them throughout the days and not have to wash them as much.
Sure.
6 of these? You were wise to choose these ones over those ones over there, because these are much more well made. They'll stand up to the elements.
There are quite a lot of elements in this area.
Oh, tell me about it.
Oh, I love this place. The desert, the sands, the winds. I came from a boarding place that just had trees. Honestly, why does everyone love trees so much? Sand, though. Sand is romantic.
To each their own.
Very well. For the 6, it will be 3 silver.
Ramaka provides the silver. I assume that they just kind of switch off who pays for what. They've got like a communal fund.
Yeah, you guys can handle that however you want. I mean, right now you both have a little bit of gold on you. Basically, I gave every character 600 gold, and then spent most of it on your starting gear, and whatever you have left over is what you have left over. Oh yeah, so it looks like Ashani only has 1 gold on her, and Ramaka has more. Ramaka has 11, so you guys, maybe you've already thought about this, and you're having Ramaka carry the bulk of your shared gold, because you figure it'll be harder to steal from Ramaka than it will be from Ashani, because Ramaka is so perceptive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I am neither perceptive or stealthy.
Stealth, that's the word I was looking for earlier.
Oh, it's a tricky word, isn't it?
No, I'm just dumb.
It's okay, you're not dumb. Alright, so you buy some scarves. Again, this is a small expense, and it's 3 silver, so this isn't something you have to worry about in terms of deducting gold. In that case, we'll take 100 scarves now.
5,000 scarves.
We'll go into a scarf business.
We will buy the whole store.
Totally
Yeah.
different role-playing game.
We have completely changed our life goals. We've given up. We just learned to live with it.
Nice.
To be honest, I think scarves represent the good in a desert area.
And infinity scarves equal balance and the circle of life.
Yep, new life plan.
Sounds good. We completely changed what the campaign is about. It's now a shop management sim.
Sands of scarves.
Sands of scarves. I'm gonna have to change the graphic. Yeah. Alright. So, having bought some scarves, what do you do next?
I think we're ready to go to the
Mhm.
cafe. I think we've been able to see inside a little bit, and With such an open floor plan, it seems less intimidating to me.
Also, you notice the place is deserted. There's
Oh.
there's a halfling woman behind the bar and not a single customer.
Well, it is kind of midday. Or hi. It's not like evening time, so people tend to go to bars after work and such. Well, cafes, I guess.
Yeah, not.
Yeah, the
Cider would totally
strongest
be about
heat of the day
blankets
is
and towels
probably
now.
not when most people are out in the sun.
Yeah, so you're approaching the Saffron Breeze.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, as you walk in, roll initiative. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. As you walk in, you see a smiling halfling woman, lightly tanned skin, dark red hair in a long braid, and she kind of cheerfully waves at you as you walk in. Greetings! Welcome to the Saffron Breeze. What can I get you? May I recommend our house Trika?
What is that?
By this point, actually maybe not you two. You two have, your characters aren't really the types to go out drinking, I assume.
Oh, that might have been an out of character question.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
I
Yeah,
didn't
I would
realize
say
I quite said that out loud.
actually it makes sense that your characters don't really know what Trika is.
Yeah,
Or
I
or
imagine
Trika.
if we went out, we would be very moderate. At least I would in alcohol consumption,
Yeah,
since I'm
because
not used to drinking.
Yeah, and
There
Ramaka's
was-
gotta be alert. She's got a sister to take care of.
there was absolutely no alcohol at the monastery. None. And actually, they would have warned you about substances that are used in the outside world that will erode your mind and that sort of thing. I think one of your mentors probably would have put it to you like, it is good to avoid things which cloud your mind, but on the other hand, there could be some value gained from experiencing a new thing, even if it does temporarily dull your senses. So I leave it up to you while you're out on your journeys. If you wish to partake in these things, it will not be counted as a sin against you. But I personally don't recommend it. It's up to you, though.
Regardless, this particular moment doesn't seem like the best time for experimentation.
Yeah, this is the time
I
to
would
get
prefer to be
smashed.
alert.
Perhaps water would be the best option.
Alright, so, Cora, did you ask out loud what Trika is?
No, I was asking out of character, so I'll leave that that way.
I
Alright, so-
would ask.
Okay.
Oh, you haven't heard of Trika? It's the beverage that Calimshan is famous for. Honestly, there's not very much winemaking and brewing that takes place in Calimshan, but there is one particular wine made in Calimshan, made from the palantrike fruit, which is one of our famous fruits here. It's a very strong yet sweet wine, and people here love it. And in fact, people elsewhere order it and have it delivered to them all the way from Calimshan, elsewhere in the realms, because it's so good. I make my own.
Well,
But
that does sound lovely, but I think we're more in the mood for something lighter, like juice or simply water would suffice.
what about food? I can make you some food. I can give you a small platter, or... And as she's saying this, a man walks in to the cafe. He is a slender Kalashite man, human, with dark skin, short, dark, curly hair, a thin mustache, and a small goatee. He's very well dressed. Very well dressed indeed. And he looks like this guy.
Does he look in any way similar to Tefera?
No. He doesn't look
Okay.
anything like Tefera.
Just making sure.
He's not armed either.
Okay.
He walks in and he looks at the two of you, and his eyebrows lift, and he walks right up to you.
Oh.
Greetings, greetings! I think you are two of the ones that I seek.
Oh, hello. Just a little
Are
taken
you-
aback by enthusiasm.
Are you the clever Ashani and the brave Ramaka? I have heard of you. Or do I mistake you for someone else?
You are not mistaken.
He smiles, sort of. You can tell with your exceptional insight skill, Ashani, you have an passive insight of 19, which is super good. You can tell that he's being, it's a forced politeness and enthusiasm. You can tell that he's not really sincere with how nice he's acting and how happy he is to meet you.
He did go to a lot of trouble to arrange this, though.
Mm-hmm.
I am Ran Sahib. And I have sent letters to you, which apparently got, because here you are. Please, be seated here. I have a table reserved for us, and drinks will be on me.
Oh, thank
Courtesy of House Azar.
This is probably a house that you've heard of. There are various noble houses in the city, and you've probably heard mention of House Azar before.
Good things
Which-
or bad things?
Good things. It seems to be a well-respected sort of pillar of the community kind of family. You've never actually worked for them or dealt with them in any way, but people have spoken of them with respect.
Okay.
And at this
Ramaka
time...
is-
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, for this interaction, Ramaka's going to kind of defer to Ashani since she is more the diplomatic, sociable type.
Yeah, Shani's kind of an expert.
Yeah, I will mentally let her know that he doesn't seem quite as sincere.
She kind of tries to keep from looking too much at Ashani to not let on what's going on, and she just kind of sends back, similar to Tefera.
Yeah. And as he greets you, he bows to you, but he bows a little bit too deeply, a little bit too theatrical. Again, it doesn't seem sincere. It just seems like he's trying to, to put you at ease or do what is expected of him, basically. But at this time, Zax shows up. Zax, you see this place, you see this scene. What do you do?
Well, I was figuring Zax probably isn't just walking up the broad daylight street if he can. Would there be like any alleys nearby that he would be like prowling through those to try and get eyes on things without anyone noticing him?
Yeah, there's alleys, and you could get on the rooftops if you wanted to.
Ah,
It'd be
the
an easy task.
rooftops, even better.
Yes.
That'd be an easy task for him. And he's super, super stealthy, so you could sneak around up there without being seen. You don't even have to roll anything.
All right, then yeah, that's what Zax is going for. He like finds a nice rooftop perch to get an eye on basically the whole square if he can, but particularly looking at this cafe to try and see what's going on, who all is in there, what it looks like.
Okay. You're in a good spot. You can see the whole square. You can see the cafe. You can see if you lower yourself down enough, you can see into the cafe, and you can see the 3 people that are in there. 4 people that are in there now.
All right, Zax just keeps an eye on things until it gets like close to High Sun, and Kyria starts coming up, and at that point he slips down from the building and joins her to go inside.
Okay. So, before everybody else shows up, then there'll be a few more minutes when it's just Ramaka and Ashani there. He says, "Please, please, be seated here at this fine table, and let me get you whatever drinks you need."
I will incline my head gracefully when he bows and let him lead us to another table.
Ramaka returns the bow, just to be polite.
Okay. I would imagine Ramaka's not particularly adept at bowing.
No, it's kind of like she almost gets a little off center since her center of gravity is so low, and she's trying to imitate a human bow.
Yeah, okay. You can see a look that passes across his face very briefly before he covers it back up with this mask of politeness. A look of disgust. Like he's judging you for your clumsy bow. But it's just there for a second.
Oh.
Hmm.
She keeps it to herself. Well, any responses to herself.
So as he ushers you over toward this table, he says, what are you drinking?
Oh, just water.
Just water, okay. For both of you?
Ramaka lets Ashani answer for herself.
Sure.
I will get other drinks for our other guests. Please, bring us over a bottle of your house trika and as well a bottle of water, and I will need 6 glasses.
So Cora comes over. Oh, she didn't introduce herself to you, but she does at this point, the halfling woman. She says,
"Thank you so much for coming and patronizing my shop. As you can see, I don't have any other customers. It's not because this is a bad place, though, really. My food and drink are fantastic. It's just I'm in a rather unfortunate location. But anyway, my name's Cora, and I would be happy to help you with anything you need. I'll just be right over there."
My thanks to you.
and so she sets out a couple of bottles, one of water, one of wine, and 6 glasses. There are 7 chairs around the table. Ron Sahib does not sit. He stands behind one of the chairs. He stands very... He's very stiff. Like, it just looks like he's trying really hard to be, like, perfectly polite and non-offensive, and yet he's obviously uncomfortable with the situation. That's your read on him with your insight.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you two do?
I suppose we sit down. As long as he's feigning politeness and formality, we might as well do the same.
Yeah.
If you don't mind waiting a short while, you arrived early, and I wish to make a proposal, but it is not to you two alone. There will be others joining us, and I would rather not have to go through it all more than once.
Of course.
Understandable.
Just make yourselves comfortable, enjoy the water while we wait a few minutes. And it will all be explained soon. And he just stands there. You notice he doesn't look at you two. I mean, he looked you over briefly, just when in the very beginning, but then he completely stops looking at you and just kind of stares out into the square. So at this point, he's essentially ignoring your presence. Alright. Everybody else is going to show up about this time now. Kyria's walking up the street, looking around for Zach. She knows she's not going to see him, but she looks around anyway. And at this time as well, Valinar and Howling Sky will be approaching.
Zax just sort of pops out of an alleyway and is then walking side by side with Kyria.
What was that? I got a thing on Discord. Did one of you just say something in Discord?
I think Stoiler just dropped off.
Oh, that's what it was.
There she
And
is.
she's back.
Welcome back, Stoila. Technical difficulties. Goodbye, Stoila. Welcome back, Stoila. Boss Pie, I am recording this, but I'm not doing it in like 1 hour episodes. The entire session will be one episode. Okay. All of you arrive. Kyria says, "Oh, there you are, Zax. So, is it safe? Have you determined that it's safe?"
I can't be sure, but there aren't many people there. 2 women, a halfling, a man. Nothing we can't handle if we need to.
Very well then. Onward. Let us find out what this exciting opportunity is.
Exciting, yeah.
Stoila is having internet issues due to the rainstorm, unfortunately.
Damn.
There. I'm sitting next to the internet converter. Shouldn't be any more problems.
Yeah. I'm on
That's
top
granted-
of the
hope.
internet. Okay, well, hopefully that'll work. What are Valinar and Howling Sky doing at this time? You've just approached and you see the square, you see the cafe. Are you...
So when we see the sign for the cafe, I turn to Howling Sky. Saffron Breeze. What a poetic name.
There'll be food, right?
I hope there will be food. As you seem insatiable today.
I'm irritable.
The two often go hand in hand.
Yes.
And the rain, we take him in with us.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Obviously, you get a lot of stares as you're walking through the streets with a wolf. But people don't freak out about it. They're just a little bit surprised, but then they don't look like horrified or anything. Not like they are with the bugbear.
And how well do we know this area?
Not very well.
But from the little we do know of it,
It's not considered to be an unsafe part of town, if that's what you're asking.
okay. So, Saffron Breeze, shall we?
He nods.
And we walk up to the entrance.
All right. So as you're walking up, you see an uncommonly lovely Eladrin woman in full armor. Actually, I think she's wearing chainmail. No, she's wearing scale. And a hulking 7-foot-tall, 300-pound bugbear with a massive spiked chain. Also walking up to the same place at the same time from a slightly different direction.
Guy immediately pulls out her weapon and looks at Valinar like, this is not
Aye.
okay.
All right,
I
Zax,
kinda-
you see a kind of feral-looking humanoid. Looks like a human with some of the features of a wolf. who just pulled out a long spear at the sight of you.
All right. Well, I've been picturing that Zax usually keeps his spiked chain stored, so to speak, by just sort of having it like wrapped over his shoulders and hanging down like alongside him for the most part.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
when he notices this, he just sort of grabs near the ends of it with his hands and like turns to sort of face her, not exactly head on, but he's definitely like wary and ready in case anything happens.
I place a hand over Howling Skies in a sort of gentle, discouraging motion and hold eye contact for a moment with the bear and for a moment with the Eladrin.
Kyria says, "Everyone relax. Sir Zax, there's no need to get alarmed. I don't know who this person is." She looks over at Howling Sky and kind of shakes her head slightly, like she doesn't know what Howling Sky is. "I don't know who this person is with the spear, but I assure everyone here there is no need for any sort of violence. We are simply walking to this cafe, as are you, apparently. We are not enemies. Everyone just relax."
I take it you have an appointment at noon also?
How did you know that?
Just an intuition.
Intuition, my arse.
The second he starts talking, she like shifts her weapon slightly and like growls a little bit.
And I say to Howling Sky, he may look monstrous and hideous.
Thanks.
But
I'm right here.
I mean,
But I
it
suspect
does.
he is not an enemy.
It is a perfectly reasonable reaction, given the reputation that bugbears have in the world as being horrible, monstrous, evil killers that are
Yeah, but
never
you
up
don't
to
have
anything
to say I'm hideous
good.
to my face.
Yeah.
No, that was very deliberate.
Dude, this woman trips children. Do you think she's gonna be nice to you?
All right, you have a point.
Howling Sky is the party edgelord. Okay, Kyria pulls out the letter, and she kind of holds it up and she approaches Valinar in such a way that she's getting closer to Valinar while simultaneously getting further away from Howling Sky. And she says, "Did you receive a letter like this one?" She kind of holds it out so you can see it.
I glance at it, and recognition is apparent in my face.
You did, then?
Yes, delivered by a little boy urchin, dark-skinned, Tefera.
Oh, was that his name?
He smelled funny.
I
All was
didn't
not-
take the opportunity to smell him. Zax, did you smell him?
I as much as I smell anything.
Well, anyway, he was a very interesting young man, and he offered us this apparent opportunity, and it looks like he offered the same to you, which means we may be allies, and we don't even know it yet. So why don't we put away all of our spears and everything, and just go inside the cafe? How does that sound?
Very well, but just be aware. All was not as it seemed with the young child. There is more to this than meets the eye.
Really? Now she looks intrigued. What do you mean? Zax, did you notice anything strange about the boy?
Well, he seemed confused on bugbears and spiked chains, but other than that, I didn't notice anything too strange.
What did you see?
Smell
he's
and
looking
taste
at-
like flowers.
Like flowers? That's interesting, I guess. I didn't smell anything. I don't know that someone smelling like flowers is automatically cause for suspicion, however.
Let's just say there was an element of artifice in his guise. He was not a child of the streets.
What do you mean? He seemed like the perfect little unfortunate waif urchin. He was obviously, his clothes were all torn and he had dirt on his face. He was obviously very thin and hungry. I mean, I felt bad for the little one.
For a start, he was literate. It was clear he could read the contents of the letter he delivered. He smelled of flowers. He was not dirty. He was not... Look around at these children who populate the city, these children who live in the filth. And think again of that boy.
You know, you may have a point. What do you think, Zax? Do you think the boy was a genuine street urchin, or... Now, if you want to, at this time, Zax, you can roll a streetwise check, if you so desire.
Streetwise?
Yeah.
Alright, let me, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah, the fastest way to do that probably be to click on your token and then just click on Streetwise up at the top left in the bar there. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, quite good.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah, now that she mentions all this, you realize, because you know the streets, you know what poor people are really like, you realize he did not actually seem like the same way that real street urchins are. In his manner, in the way that he carried himself, maybe he wasn't really as filthy as he should have been.
Now they say it, he did seem strange. Maybe it was an act. Don't know why.
Well, that is a bit odd, I suppose. Well, regardless, I'm still interested in meeting with whoever sent the letter.
Of course, just have your wits about you. And I go in.
All of my wits are right here, and she points at Zax.
Zax just gives a big feral-looking grin and walks in.
Alright. So everyone enters, I assume. And Ron Sahib is still standing there. Of course, now, Ramaka and Ashani, you see these people walk in.
Would Zax, would a bugbear be recognizable as a monster to Ashani and Ramaka, or do they, have them where they're from? So would they be, spooked?
I would say Ramaka knows what a bugbear is.
Okay.
Ashani maybe hasn't really studied that much about the inhabitants of the natural world outside of the monastery. She's mostly focused on the cultures of humans and that sort of thing to deal with them as a diplomat. But Ramaka would know that bugbears they're considered an enemy of the natural world. They are goblinoids, so they live with tribes of goblins, and goblins are 100% disrespectful of the natural world, as well as a terror to peace-loving races like humans and dwarves and everything. I mean, they're evil monsters, is what they are. No one has ever heard I mean, not necessarily no one in the universe or the world, but I mean, none of you have ever heard of a bugbear that wasn't an evil monster, except for Zax.
And Kyria.
I imagine, though, that Ashani would stay calm
Mm-hmm.
and, at least outwardly, and stand and bow slightly and introduce both of us.
Ramaka doesn't
Introduce.
bow. She kind of she does what Ashani did earlier. She just kind of nods her head so she doesn't embarrass herself again.
Greetings. I am Sister Ashani, and this is Ramaka, my sister.
Hello, it's good to meet you.
All right, Rod Sahib is standing there watching all of you as you come in, and he is not even concealing the disgust on his face as he looks upon Zax. But he doesn't say anything at this time. Go ahead.
I'm assuming Zach would notice the look on his face.
Yeah.
All right, then in that case, Zach's like he looks over the group, and when he sees the Ron with the look of just contempt and everything on his face, he just point blank like walks up to him, stares him in the eye, and, "Did you send the letters?"
Now that you've directly confronted him, he quickly kind of smooths over his features and straightens himself up and gives a small fake but polite smile. Ah, welcome, good master. I did send the letters, yes, to each and every one of you. I wish to speak with you. I have chairs here for you all to sit in, and there is drink here at the table that you may partake in for free. Compliments of House Azar.
So Valinarum stands in the doorway, just stays there for a few moments, kind of deliberately surveying the room, the surroundings, the faces, and he makes a point of kind of looking at this Ran Sahib and appraising him for a while with a penetrating gaze before he approaches the table.
All right. You can see that he seems very cultured, very proper and polite, and just like everything about the way he's standing and the way he speaks, and he just looks like he's perfectly adhering to the etiquette of the Kalashite culture, especially the Kalashite upper class culture. But there's no doubt in your mind as a fellow Kalashite that no matter how he acts, there's no doubt in your mind that he is judging this group of Garab, which is the Alzeda word for foreigner, and looking at you, except for you, obviously, Valinar, as a bunch of filthy barbarians whom he's forced to deal with, but he's obviously not happy about it, but he's pretending real hard to be polite.
I see. Tabarif, you have summoned and we have come.
And I greatly appreciate you coming, yes. Yes, just so I am certain, well, are you all sitting?
Yes.
Zax would just be standing behind Kyria.
Okay.
Guys, like you said, there's a bunch of archways opening into the building.
Yes.
He's sitting on the ground in one of the archways. And she's got like her eyes on Zach.
All right. Excuse me. You would be the one called Howling Sky, yes? A very, interesting name.
She nods.
Perhaps you could come to the table and join us here. It is strange to try to speak to you while you are sitting over there on the floor. Like an animal.
She walks over to the table and still sits on the floor.
Alright.
And I say to him,
He sighs and like literally face palms, but he starts rubbing at his temples. He's like, okay, let's get this underway.
be respectful.
You're
looks
right, of course. You are a fellow gentleman of our beautiful and superior land of Calimshan, and you understand. You understand that what it is like dealing with these barbarians. No offense meant, of course, no offense, my friends. I mean barbarian in a affectionate way. Yes, very affectionate. But
I've been called worse.
you understand. He kind of leans in close to Valinar and lowers his voice, but you can all still hear him. You understand that these people from the north, they cannot possibly understand our culture or our education, but we still can deal with them, despite the fact that they lack certain culture. Yes?
Perhaps Garab are not familiar with our culture, but they are not barbarian. And do not disrespect my friend.
He kind of bows deeply to you. He actually seems more sincere now. And he says, of course. I apologize. You are right. I was wrong. I take back any disrespect. And those of you who are Kalashite or have high insight, which I guess would basically be Ashani and Valinar, can tell that he's actually being sincere now. You kind of put him in his place, Valinar.
So I kind of take a seat halfway between where the group are and where Howling Sky is.
Okay.
Sort of to kind of make her feel included in the space, if that makes sense.
Kyria looks over the table. She looks Ron Sahib up and down, examines his clothing. She makes a little sound, which, Zax, you know she makes that sound when she's not particularly impressed with something. And she says, all right then, I will sit, as will my friend here, my dear friend, and my sworn protector and liege, knight. Not liege. Take the word liege out of there. She's the liege. He's not the liege. My sworn protector and knight. We will hear what you have to say, but I suggest that you make it good. Because Sir Zax and I, and she nods importantly or meaningfully at the bugbear, do not like having our time wasted. And she sits down. And he looks a little bit nervous. And he looks again between all of you, looks again at Zax, and kind of nods his head in a little half bow toward Kyria. Of course, I will make this good, as you say. Please help yourself to the wine or water as you prefer. And now that you are all comfortable, before I begin with my proposal, I must make sure that you are exactly who I am looking for. So, if each of you could tell me your name, that would set my mind at ease.
Does anyone say anything?
No one wants to go first.
We've already
Definitely-
introduced ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, you did.
Say, I'm Valanar.
Valinar. Valinar. Are you from... Where are you from? You're not from Almraven, are you? There's a little bit of a note in your accent. Perhaps, Calimport, am I right?
I'm from the west.
Honestly, you know that any Kalashite would make a pretty easy guess that you're from Calimport, because Calimport is where the forces of air are. So that's where all the Wind Soul Genasi are, and all of the Jinn, versus Memnon, which is where all the forces of fire are. So just looking at you and knowing that you're a Wind Soul Genasi, one could pretty much easily guess that you're from Calimport. But he was trying to make it sound like he was being really smart. All right.
Yes, I am from Kalimport.
What brings you all the way out here to Umriven? You know, this city is a free city. We do not have slaves here. And I know that your kind like to have slaves. I trust that is not a problem for you?
Please do not generalize my kind. I do not condone slavery in any form.
Oh,
He looks surprised.
that is good to hear. And your friend there, who are you? Wait, I already asked you if you are Howling Sky, did I not?
She grunts.
Very well, Howling Sky. And I heard the two of you say your names, so that just means I need to know who that is. I mean, who he is. Obviously pointing at Zax. And you, noble lady. And he, again, kind of bows to Kyria.
Kyria says,
I am Kyria, and as I've already said, this is Sir Zax, and if you address him, you will address him by his title.
Zax waggles his eyebrows.
As
So-
Kyria's talking, Sky's just gonna stand up and start walking around the restaurant, just ignoring her.
okay. The little halfling behind the bar comes out and walks up to Howling Sky and says,
Hello. Is there anything you need? Anything I can get you? Anything I can help you with? I'm Cora, and this is my place, the Saffron Breeze. I hope you like it. I like it.
He looks at her very seriously and goes, "Do you have any food?"
Of course I do. Yes, I have food. What are you looking for? Maybe
she kind of looks over your facial features for a moment.
maybe some kind of meat. Yes, maybe some lamb.
Yes.
Okay, I'll get something together for you right away.
And she goes back behind into the
She
kitchen,
starts
which is
following her into the kitchen.
Ron Sahib is like, excuse me, Howling Sky, could you please come back? We have something to talk about and I need you to be here.
Completely ignores him.
Cora walks in the kitchen. She turns around and she jumps because she wasn't expecting you to be there. And she goes,
What are you doing in here? This is the kitchen.
Said
I'm
food.
I'm gonna make your food and bring it out to you. That's how these things work. You have money, right?
Shiny, yes.
All right, let me make you a plate of food, and I will bring it out to you. Okay?
Just sits on the floor in the kitchen and waits.
She says, it's going to be hard for me to work with you looming in here, and I'm not very comfortable with this. If you could maybe just go. She just stares at you. You're just sitting there? She sighs again. She says, oh, okay, alright, I guess you can just stay there then, that's fine. Here, would you like an apple while you wait?
She looks at the apple inquisitively, and she takes it, but she doesn't eat it. She just stares at it.
It's very good. They're fresh, very crisp, juicy.
She just keeps staring at it.
And she starts cooking. So, out in the main room, Ron Sahib says, "Well, I don't know what's going on with that one, but," he looks at Valinar, "you can relay to her whatever information you get from me, yes?"
I just give a small nod.
All right, good. Well, thank you all so much for coming. I very much appreciate it. And I now have a proposal for you. Even though you are Garab, and would not be my personal first choice to employ, my master feels otherwise. He has heard of you. He has heard that you are both skilled and honorable, allegedly. Like, you can tell this guy's trying so hard to be polite, but he just can't. Like, he just keeps slipping up and saying things that are rude because he's so judgmental. But every time he does, he kind of then, his facial expression, he tries to reset his face to a little smile and makes an apologetic little nod. Okay. Now that I know who you are, before we get into what the business at hand is, I feel that I must confirm that you are good at what you do. I am looking for people who have a talent for battle, not to put too fine a point on it. Perhaps you can speak to me of your skills so that I will know that you are suitable. So he looks at Valinar. How about you first, sir? What is it that qualifies you to be hired as an adventurer?
I believe you're the one who needs the qualification. Why
Yes.
should we assist you?
Agreed. You have invited us here. It's time to explain your purpose.
I have. I just wanted to make sure that you were really who we were looking for. And, but I can see that you are serious and that you know what you are doing. Maybe I don't need to question you about that. He's kind of starting to look nervous. He's sweating a little bit.
I said, but you didn't answer my question. You have clearly singled us out. But who are you? Who is your master? And why do you need our help? Why should we help you?
Ah, right. Okay. I am Ran Sahib, as I said before. I am servant to House Azhar of Almriven. Perhaps you have heard of this house? It is well respected. You've 100% heard of it, Valinar. And like I said, everyone else who has spent, like, you'd heard of it before when you lived here, you know, even though you didn't live in Almriven, you lived in Calimport, you'd still heard of this because you were pretty familiar with all the noble houses in Calimshan, given that your character has studied history and been classically educated and so forth. So you'd heard of them before, and you
heard that they were a good noble house, that they were just and well liked and not involved in anything shady. And the
Okay,
rest
so
of you have also heard of it since you've been in the city, but you know very little about it at all.
I just nod and gesture for him to continue.
Very well. House Azar is a very wealthy and very well respected noble house here in Amriven. My master is the patriarch of the house. He is Massatir Allah Amar of House Azar. And Kyria and Valinar would know that a Massatir is a noble title, roughly equivalent to a baron. Massatir Allah Amar, he is my master, and he is a great man, a very great man. He is perhaps the most honorable and the most brave and the most generous noble in all of Calimshan. So, to be contacted by him is a great honor for you. Especially considering that you are not Kalashite. Well, except for you. But you probably wish to know what it is that House Azar needs from you. Let me tell you. First, let me ask you a question. And this one is important. How do you feel about slavery?
Despicable.
I'm not exactly a supporter.
I would say that Zax actually has slave marks branded onto him, some of which would be visible, at least one of which would be visible on his like face or neck or something. So, do you take special care to cover those up, or do you not care?
Nah.
Okay, then he notices your slave brand. Even though it's an unusual one, it's not obviously from anywhere in Calimshan. It is clear what it's supposed to be, and he says, "Ah." And as he sees that now for the first time, his gaze kind of softens. He looks a little bit more sympathetic towards you. He says, "Ah, I see that you have had your own run-in with slavers. And they have marked you. How long were you a slave for, sir?"
Long enough. Never going back.
Very well then. I am glad that you are free, and he seems to be sincere when he says that. Anyway, go on.
Oh.
Go on.
I will add that we oppose the subjection of any sapient creatures.
Good. So all of you are opposed to slavery, is that correct?
Yes.
Nobody here likes slavery? Because if you do, you might as well leave now. Good then. I am glad to hear this. Perhaps my master did choose well. Of course, he always chooses well. He is a greatly wise and sagacious man who always chooses well. I did not mean to imply that he does not, but every once in a while, even a great and intelligent person can make a mistake. But perhaps in this case, he did not make a mistake. My master, Allah Amar, has a great reputation in the city.
And among his things that he is reputed for is his great generosity and opposition of slavery. He has committed many of his own personal resources to sheltering escaped slaves, to helping escaped slaves get out of the country, to help slaves get free. And I do not personally have knowledge of this, but it is said that he has ties to organizations which work to fight against slavery in Calimshan. You would have to ask him about that yourself. And although his pride would never allow him to admit it, I will tell you a secret about my master. I would ask that you not repeat this to anyone you meet. But I think it bears importance for you to know this if you are to decide whether you wish to work for him or not. Allahamar himself was once a slave. He was captured in the city of Memnon while trying to free other slaves. And then he was made a slave himself for a time. When he escaped and gained his freedom, he vowed to devote his life to the overthrow of Memnon and freedom for all in Calimshan under the yoke of slavery. And that is his mission. Everything he is doing, everything he wants to do, is toward the aim of ending slavery and the corrupt, oppressive rule of the genies in Kalimport and Memnon. Does this sound like an aim that you would support?
How is this possible? The abolition of slavery. A practice that has endured for thousands of years.
Well, it will require military action, of course. The regimes of the Ifrit and the Jinn will have to be forcibly overthrown.
So your master seeks to wage war in Calimshan?
Calimshan is already waging war constantly with itself, as I know you know. He wishes to change the nature of that war to a war of liberation rather than a war of oppression.
Does he still seem very sincere?
He does. Kyria says, I have studied a great deal about war. And from what I have read and researched on my own about the military conflict here in Calimshan, it seems almost impossible that some random noble from Almriven could possibly gather enough troops, enough forces to confront the massive forces arrayed against them. And Ron Sahib says, you are right that it will be a task of great difficulty. He will have to unite many noble families and organizations and tribes and small groups of survivors that live out in the desert. He will have to unite a great force, and he will have to inspire them with his leadership so that they will all agree to follow him. And he needs help with this. He needs your help specifically.
To do what?
He looks around everywhere in all directions, and he kind of lowers his voice. There are unwanted eyes and ears everywhere. And this is a matter of some discretion. I cannot personally tell you exactly what my master needs for you to do. all I can do is determine whether or not you should meet with him and whether or not you wish to meet with him. And I believe that I am confident enough at this point that you should meet with him. The question remains, do you wish to?
Ramaka just kind of looks at Ashani.
Velna looks around, surprised that he still can't see Howling Sky, and then addresses the group. I was a soldier in this war you spoke of. The Jinn and the Efreet, Kalimport and Memnon. I fought in that bitter struggle for 7 years. And oh, did I see terrible things. I did not think that I would ever see an opposition to the war and an end to the slavery in my lifetime. So while I cannot talk for the others, if your intentions are true, then I will pledge my sword to Masatir Allah Amar.
Nice. You can have another fate point,
Ooh.
Baba.
Well, thanks. I think we lost Stoilag. Never mind.
She lives.
Stoila, are you back? Yes, no, maybe. Well, okay, does anybody else say anything after Valinor says that?
I will whisper to my sister and gauge her thoughts and mention that he seems more sincere in this offer.
Ramaka suggests that this could be what they've been looking for, a way to cure this land and cure the pain.
I see no reason not to meet with him.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So did either of you say anything out loud?
Out loud, we will say we would be pleased to meet with your master.
Mm-hmm.
He smiles. Good, that is great. And he looks at the bugbear. Kyria looks like she's kind of got this faraway look in her eyes, like she's calculating stuff in her head. And you know, Zax, that she's beyond fascinated with war, and so that as soon as this guy started talking about war, she's off and running in her head, like probably planning the whole campaign in her mind. So he looks at Zax.
I think after talk like that, I couldn't drag her away.
She looks up as she hears Zax speak. Oh, what? What did I miss? I was thinking.
You just agreed to fight for this man.
Oh, did I? Well, I don't know about that. I mean, we could meet with your master, right? I would like to speak to him directly before I agree to fight for anyone. And Ron Sahib bows again. He says, yes, of course. That is all I want, is for you to come and meet with my master. Kyria says, oh, very well then. I'm in. Unless Zax thinks it's a poor idea. What do you feel about this, Zax? Sir Zax? I keep forgetting to say Sir.
It's everyone should. No, he muses for a moment and, well, I don't like slavery, so I suppose I'd be happy to fight for this.
Okay then. Well, count us in. So, Stoila, are you back? I think Stoila's got her.
I'm on with Mike. I'm getting back into the Roll20.
Yay!
Yay. Okay, so you're back in the kitchen, and she finishes making you up a plate of food. And gives it to you. She says, "There you go. If you want to, you could go back out and eat it at a table. You don't have to sit in the kitchen floor and eat it." She looks very awkward about this whole situation.
Guys, just gonna grab the food and march out and sit down next to Valinar and just start eating really noisily.
Sit down next to him in a chair or on the floor?
Obviously, why would she sit in a chair?
All right. Well, Ron Sahib says, "Oh, you have food. I have good news for you, actually." He's speaking to Howling Sky. "If you are hungry, my master has a whole feast laid out, waiting for you to come and partake if you come back to the master's house with me. So, if you are hungry, you will have your fill there."
She just nods.
Anyway, so you've agreed, I guess, all of you now. It's a little hard to tell, not all of you speak. But I think you've all agreed. So, if you are ready and able to come now, I can take you to the home of my master.
I suppose we are.
Lead the way.
Very well, then. Do you take the food with you? Oh, and Cora says, that'll be 8 copper for the food.
She's gonna look at Valinar.
What's the conversion? Copper and silver again? Is it 100 to 1?
10.
10 copper,
10 to
1
1.
silver, 10 silver, 1 gold.
Okay. So I walk over and I hand her double the. So I give her 16 copper. Apologies for the inconvenience.
Oh, wow, you are most generous. Thank you so much. Please come back anytime.
I'm sure she will.
And she kind of, as she takes the money, she sort of lets her hand brush over long against yours, and she looks you in the eye. She says, "And I really mean come back any time, sir."
Oh.
And there's a definite flirty tone in her voice.
But Valinar looks distinctly uncomfortable and just sort of slowly edges back. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. And she goes back and she puts the money away wherever she hides the money. So Ron Sahib is now just standing there by one of the archways leading out, waiting for everyone.
Yeah, so I walk out and I say to Sky, Dairifa, you may bring the food with you.
She picks up the food and follows him out. And you get this very distinct impression that kind of like she's very socially awkward in general, but you get a feeling she was being particularly poorly behaved today on purpose.
Okay. Is everyone else going along?
I'm assuming we're following him.
Yeah, Zax falls into step beside Kyria and follows.
All right.
Yeah. I'm gonna stay close to Ramaka.
Yeah, Ramaka's kind of gonna stay on the side between Ashani and Sahib. She wants to be a barrier between him and her sister wherever he is, just in case.
All right. So as you proceed through the streets, once again you get the strange looks, Zax and the wolf, and sometimes Valinar. And you occasionally hear somebody whispering rude things about you. But Ron Sahib keeps going. He leads you through the city into the wealthy district of the city, where the rich merchants and nobles live. And he takes you to a large, impressive palatial estate. It's walled, and you go in past fountains and gardens, and there are a good deal of very well-armed guards with very shiny armor and weapons. Does anybody do or say anything while this is happening?
I don't think there's much to do unless you want to offend your guest and touch something. For host, not guest. Jeez.
Kyria's looking around. She's like assessing the defenses of the estate. Not bad. Not bad. This
Bet
place
I could
wouldn't
climb
keep-
over that wall.
Yeah. I know you could. She looks at Zach and says, "This place couldn't keep you out." But it's okay. And you are led into a richly appointed sitting room. There are many very comfortable looking, well padded couches and chairs. I mean, this is nice furniture. Expensive furniture. And there's a large table along one wall of the room which is covered in fine foodstuffs. Meats, cheeses, fruits, cooked dishes of various kinds, rice, hummus, the whole 9 yards. Lots of like olives and dates, and it's, you know, Mediterranean kind of fare typically. And there are various drinks there, bottles of different types of alcohol, as well as water. And there's nobody else in the room. Ron Sahib sort of ushers you in, and he says, "Please make yourselves comfortable. Help yourselves to the repast upon the table. Have whatever you wish. It is all provided for you at no charge. And be comfortable. My master will come in shortly." And then he leaves. So you're alone in the room.
Ramaka's interested in the dates. She likes them, and they're a good source of nutrition, so she doesn't hesitate in taking a few.
I say
Okay.
to Howling Sky, please leave some for the others.
Yeah, you've since finished your
Hey.
other food. Did you give some of
Looks
the
at you.
food to Rain?
Oh yeah, no, she's sharing with Rain. She's actually. Is there like any like bigger, like in terms of meat? Like, is there like a whole animal at all on the table?
Yeah, there's a whole chicken.
Just gonna take the chicken off the table and give it to Rain.
Okay.
Just drop it on the floor.
There's
Just
no
a
beef, of
hand
course.
Sneaks up.
But there
Oh.
is lamb, there is goat, there is chicken and other fowl.
Pig.
Oh yeah, there is definitely pork as well.
She's
I will
gonna.
s-
Go ahead.
I will sample the refreshments as well. It's been a while since we've eaten.
I pick up an empty tray or whatever I can find similar to that, and try and put it underneath the chicken that's on the floor that's being ravaged by the wolf. And
Okay.
I say to Sky, Diarifa, we talked about this, remember?
Yes.
You cannot throw food on the floors of people's houses.
The floor is covered with a really thick, fancy, rich carpet, and I mean the room is well appointed. There are tapestries and paintings on the walls that look very expensive. There are candlesticks and other decorations that all look pretty expensive. I mean, you can tell this person has a lot of money.
So Sky's gonna look for, like, is there a tablecloth on the table or anything like that?
Yes, there
Or
is
napkins?
a tablecloth. And there are napkins, yes.
Take a whole bunch of napkins and just put them over top of her mess. Like, not actually clean it up, just put them on top.
Put them on top of what?
The chicken carcass and all the juice from the chicken carcass that's now on the floor.
Oh, okay. You just kind of cover them up with the...
Yeah.
Right. Kyria says,
just-
well, I guess you haven't spent much time in places like this, have you? To Howling Sky. She doesn't sound judgmental about it. She just sounds friendly.
Look at her and be like, no. And then she's gonna hold out her hand, as if to give her a handshake.
Okay. Kyria looks at it for a moment and then raises an eyebrow and nods and comes over and reaches out her hand.
As soon as they lock hands, she's gonna bring her hand up to her face and sniff it.
It's a trap.
As soon as that happens, Zax takes 2 steps forward, very concerned about what is going on.
Here we go again. Weapons will be drawn.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't draw the. He doesn't ready the chain or anything. He just takes steps forward and is like, "What the?"
All right, Kyria just allows it. She's playing along, and she smells pretty unremarkable, but she doesn't smell the way that humans smell, or the way that Valinar smells. She smells better to you, to Howling Sky, because she is a fey creature, and she is very, she has a sort of a natural attunement to the forest that is obvious to you in the smell of her. She smells natural. Unlike the way humans smell, where they smell unnatural.
So she's gonna give her a big toothy grin, and she's still holding her hand, and she gives her this look like, okay, now you sniff.
Kyria just smiles. She says, okay, why not? And she sniffs your hand as well. It smells like
Sky.
chicken.
Sky smiles and she looks at Valinar and she's like, I did good, right? Because this is what, in her head, a handshake is supposed to look like.
Okay, did you just say your name to her?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had actually said something.
No, she doesn't really talk.
Okay.
Yeah, I just smile and nod at her.
I don't smell anything terrible here, so you must be alright. It's nice to meet you. My name's Kyria.
Sky. Link Sky.
Sky?
Or was it... It was something longer, right? Howling Sky? Was that what you were... She looks at
Yes.
Valinar questioningly, since she doesn't seem to know if she can get a straight answer out of Howling Sky. Well... Go ahead.
You are correct. Howling Sky.
And the two of you are partners. You came in together, right?
That is correct.
Ah, well, allow me to introduce Sir Zax. He is a knight, and yes, he is a bugbear, which some of you might not like, but I would advise you to get over it, because he is a most unusual bugbear. He is not like the rest of his kind, and if you take the chance to get to know him, you will love him.
She snorts at that comment.
Are we gonna have a problem?
She just glares at you, and her ears twitch.
No, Zax, we're not going to have a problem.
So is it true, Sir Zax? If we get to know you, we will come to love you.
That's what they tell me.
Well, I look forward to getting to know you. And Ramaka just kind of smiles, a strained, polite smile. This situation is a little overwhelming for her. There's too many weird customs going on.
And the two of you, she looks at Ramaka and Ashana. You also came in together. So you are partners?
We're sisters.
Sisters. She kind of cocks her head to the side slightly, has a little bit of a surprise, note of surprise in her voice. Oh, do you mean that in a spiritual sense? She actually looks, and I assume both of you are wearing your Path of the Light symbols.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't seem useful to hide them in this setting.
Yeah. So she says, I'm not familiar. Actually, she might be. She's trained in religion. But this is really obscure religion for the Forgotten Realms, so it's unlikely. But if I get a really high religion roll for her, no. She's not familiar with... I'm not familiar with that symbol. Is it a faith? What god is that?
We do not worship a god.
Oh,
It is
really?
the symbol of the path of light.
She looks very intrigued. She says, the Path of Light. What is that? I've never heard of it. And I've read a lot of books on the topic of religion.
We're a very isolated monastery.
I would love to know more about this Path of Light.
Maybe another time we could speak of it more.
Very well then. I shall ask you about it later. So, sisters, you come from a monastery. That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Did they teach you merely spiritual matters at this monastery, or did they teach you fighting arts as well?
Ramaka holds up her left hand and slams her right fist into her open left hand, just kind of like to indicate that she knows fighting. She's thinking inside her head, she's thinking, I have martial training, but kind of forgets that Kiria can't hear what she's saying.
Oh, right, okay.
I did have a question for you. How rare is psionic power and telepathy?
In the Forgotten Realms, it's pretty rare. It's not unheard of. There are people with psionic, and there are monasteries with monks in them around here and there that use psionic power for their monastic disciplines. But actual scions, like what Ashani is, or like battle minds, like Ramaka, are pretty darn rare. A lot of people might not have ever really heard of
like common people might not have ever really heard of what you are. And of course your race is beyond rare. Nobody knows about your race basically.
Right. Right.
They don't
Yeah.
even know that you're not human actually. Everyone just assumes you're human.
Yep. I have the feeling I would be a little vague about my powers with strangers.
Sure, that makes sense. That does make sense. You know that it's the kind of thing that can make people nervous. If you tell them you have mind powers, then they start worrying about whether or not you're reading their thoughts all the time. And,
Yeah.
people get weird about it.
Yeah. I will say that I've been trained in the arts of negotiation.
Oh, really? That's good. That's good, because even though they tried to train me about all of diplomacy and etiquette and protocol when I was growing up, honestly, I hate all of that, and really don't particularly like having to deal with people.
That is the role I've been trained for.
Sir Zax here, while not a diplomat, is a most excellent killer.
What is that weapon, Sir Zax?
I'm sorry, what was that? My speakers went out for a moment.
What is that weapon? I have not seen its like before.
Oh, this.
Yes.
Brian?
Yeah, sorry. My speakers are like going all over the place at the moment.
I don't know.
Well, okay. Is it something you can fix?
Yeah, I think it's just like the connection was getting a little wonky for a moment. I think it's okay now.
Cool. So, he was asking about your weapon.
Yeah.
So what is that?
It's basically what it looks like. The chain, but I've sharpened edges, added points. He holds up the ends, and it looks like at each end of the chain, it looks like someone very shoddily like hammered on knife blades on either end of it, and he holds those up and like, these are the ends for cutting, stabbing. You can do a lot with a weapon like this.
It looks very vicious.
Just
Barbaric.
like me. And he grins.
Oh, it is, says Kyria. Wait until you see him in action with that thing. Honestly, it's quite ghastly what he does to people.
Something to behold, yes?
Yes, it's beautiful in its way. But then again, I am sort of a morbid woman. I have a bit of a fascination with war and violence. I'm not really a violent type myself. I never really took well to martial training, but the theory behind it, that I have studied extensively.
Ah, so you are a strategist.
I am, and I would say that I'm a damn good one.
Language.
She laughs.
He's
You got me there, Sir Zax.
Well, I would love to discuss battlefield tactics at some point.
Oh, yes, you said you were a soldier in the war, right? I would love to pick your brain and hear about your war experiences. If it's something you're willing to speak about, of course.
Perhaps in the future.
Right.
poor Kiria keeps getting shot down.
Yeah, I know, right? So at this point, I realize we never did this. Even though all of you are kind of familiar with who the other characters are and what they look like and stuff, I want everybody to give us all a description of your character in terms of, like, how are they dressed? What kind of notable visible objects do they have on their person? Anything you notice about, like, their mannerisms or body language that would stick out? So let's all do a physical description for each other, and we will start with Ramaka.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome.
I think face, and I like the picture that you picked for her, so face-wise, that's what's going on. Her body, she's, fairly burly and wide, well, broad, and it's mostly muscle, but not like, not like super trim fit gym muscle, but more like strongman kind of muscle. I say that she's probably got some fur trim, but not as much as she would have in the north. It's just like purely decorative to make her feel more at home. I want to say she's probably got a little bit of a sunburn going on too. She really tries to keep in the shade, but you can't always do that, and she's not used to this kind of sun. And the way she talks, well, stands, it's almost as if she's kind of talking in her head, which she is on occasion, but people don't really understand what she's doing. She just looks like she's maybe having an internal conversation all the time.
All right, cool. And she is heavily armored.
Oh yeah,
and
she might
such?
be. It might be a little less heavy in the desert because that's asking for a heat stroke if you're going to go full plate mail and you're
Yeah.
not used to it. She's pretty sparsely decorated apart from like the war paint and earrings. She's not like very flamboyant. And her hair's more practical than it is in the picture. It's tied up way more so it's less easy to grab and easier to put under something if necessary.
Sounds good. Does she wear a helmet ever?
I don't I didn't think about if she wore a helmet. I want to say she probably doesn't.
I never envisioned her wearing a helmet, but you might want to.
Yeah. I want to say she probably doesn't.
Okay.
And that might be even for something as petty as she got a really bad helmet sunburn and so she doesn't wear it anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, helmets suck. All these characters in these fantasy games always have a helmet and they wear it all the time. And I'm like, man, screw that. As uncomfortable and hot and gross it would be as wearing a helmet all the time, I would want to have one on my head as little as possible. Personally.
Well, she's got a ton of hair too, so it's not a good situation for a helmet unless you really wanted to braid it tight.
So she's got heavy armor, even if she's got like maybe part of the armor removed because of the heat, and she's got a big heavy shield and a battle axe, so she looks like a very soldierly, melee fighter type.
Yeah, and she looks competent. It's not like she's a brand new adventurer running out in the wilderness. She looks like she knows what she's doing, and she doesn't do any kind of young adventurer posturing. She's just she is what she is, and she's not going to pretend to be tougher. None of that chest puffing or anything.
Yeah, and she doesn't seem to have any of the typical dwarven bluster that the dwarves often have.
Yeah, absolutely none of it. She doesn't really act like a proper dwarf. I mean, considering I'm 5 feet tall in real life, she could very easily be mistaken for a human in behavior.
Okay.
Considering her height and her behaviorism. That's a word.
Totally a word. Makes sense. Sounds good. All right. What about you, Brian? Zax?
Okay, so Zax, obviously being a bugbear is naturally just a very large figure. He is like 7 feet tall, heavily muscular, as well as having like the fur and everything. So yeah, he definitely strikes like a very large hulking figure whenever he's walking. But it is worth noting that when he is moving around, he isn't like a he's no oaf or anything like that. He carries his weight very well and very gracefully for his size. He moves akin to like a large predatory animal. He's very fluid in his movements, and he doesn't have big shuddering footsteps that shake the ground or anything. On the contrary, he's very quiet when he moves, even despite the chain that he has wrapped around him. In terms of clothing and armor, he's wearing like very little clothing, just lightweight stuff. But his armor is very obvious. He has like scratched, worn leather armor that mostly just covers his vitals. He has like bracers on over his forearms, but mostly it's just covering his torso.
And he does have that visible slave brand as well.
Yeah, he definitely he has a number of visible like scars and signs that he has had, a hard life and a hard fought life and everything. The most particularly visible, the one that catches the eye the most, is the scarring on like the side of his jawline onto his neck. That's very obviously a slave style brand, although the actual like insignia of it is very foreign to these parts of the world.
All right, sounds good. Anything else you want to tell us about Zax, or is that good?
I'll link just in. Should I link them in the Discord or on Roll20? I have a couple of images. I found a couple of images that are close to what his spike chain looks like. If anyone's interested.
Yeah, you can link it in either one that you want.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that in a moment then.
Gonna mute myself for a sec so I can move.
Okay, Stoila. Tell us about Howling Sky. Visually.
Okay. Visually. So she's taller, but she slouches a lot. So she looks way shorter than she actually is. And she's mostly legs. And she looks kind of pudgy. But she's also got a lot of muscle, and that's just because she's used to possibly can when she's able to eat. Not be very often, but now is all the time.
Yeah, I mean, she's extremely strong, so there's definitely musculature there.
Yeah, but she does have a little bit of pudge. And the picture, I like what you have for the face, but her hair, in the picture you have, her hair is kind of more like cornrows, but it's more like dreadlocks. And that's only because she's never brushed her hair or like actively washed it ever.
Okay.
And she hates bathing, so she kind of always has this like layer of filth on her.
Nice.
Salazar has probably on occasion, but she hates it. And she doesn't talk very much, but she's extremely facially expressive. So you can kind of figure out exactly what's going on just by looking at her.
And so far, it seems like most of her facial expressions are growling or glaring.
Yes.
Or licking.
Or licking. That's true. And her tongue kind of feels very like it's very much more dog-like than human. So it's got that texture to it.
Weird.
Yeah.
Spicy.
So, and she's wearing like kind of hide armor that she probably made herself, right?
Yeah, it's like sturdy, but it very much looks like someone with zero sewing experience ever put it together.
All right. And I was envisioning that she made her own spear too, so it's probably pretty crude looking.
Yeah, it's just like a stick that like hasn't even been like whittled or not whittled, but like there's still like the outer bark on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like this really big, not even really big, but this just pointy rock that she like very well, but it's just like a branch with a rock that she's tied onto it.
Awesome. So you can see that she looks very sort of primitive and barbaric compared to everyone else.
Although she does have a very nice backpack that she keeps the rest of her stuff in, that Valinar insisted she had because she was just carrying it around in a piece of cloth.
Okay, nice. Her nice backpack. All right, is that it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all you need to know.
Perfect. Tell us about Valinar.
Yeah, so with Valinar, I think once I saw the image you had of him enough, that sort of became etched in my mind as Valinar. So, he's about 6 feet tall, wearing this sort of intricate ceremonial leather armor that at one time may have looked resplendent, but now it's kind of got a faded old world grandeur to it. It's sort of it's aged. It hasn't been kept in the best condition. It's got a few tears in it, and it's also mostly covered in a forest green cowled robe, which has these golden concentric circle markings and a couple of metal clasps on the front. His skin, as the skin of most oral Winsol Genasi, his skin is silver with these light blue glowing energy lines. And on top of his head, though normally concealed with this cowl, he has these ice gray crystal spikes, again, which is something particular to Winsol Genasi. You can only see the hilt of his sword, but it in stark contrast to the sort of maybe battered and beaten appearance of the rest of him. His sword is immaculate. The pommel is inlaid with precious stones that catch and reflect the light. And if he ever draws his sword out completely, again, you can see those same light blue energy lines that he has on his skin. There's something very similar etched along the blade of his longsword.
That's cool.
His movements, his mannerisms, his speech, it's all got a sort of deliberate, sometimes methodical quality to it. Is the blade more like a knife or like a scythe? Oh, you're asking Brian, sorry. And yeah, that's Valinar.
All right, that sounds great. That was a pretty epic description there, Kava. I think I got to give you another fate point. That'll be 4 for you now.
Jesus, I'm gonna have to write in some plot lines.
Yeah, there's a lot of good uses for those, so you can never have too many.
Sure.
So let's hear about the description of Ashani.
Okay. Ashani certainly appears human. She has dark hair and these really light golden eyes that are very striking. One thing you'll notice about her is that she has esoteric designs painted on her skin, like henna, in various places.
Cool.
As for her manner, she's very kind. She tends to listen first and think and speak up after she's had a chance to take in the whole situation. You'll find her to be a really good listener and kind and very polite and charming in her way, but she's not effusive. She's calm and collected and very precise in how she acts and how she moves and how she speaks.
And is she wearing or carrying any distinctive items?
She does not have any obvious weapons. She wears loose robes made of fine clothing. She does have an orb that will come out, at some point in the future. But certainly on the surface, she would not look like a fighter in any way. Nor really obviously like a mage.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, about the calmness thing, I think to the rest of you, both Ramaka and Ashani would seem very calm. Like, they are both obviously really in control of their bodies, their faces, their minds, their emotions, in a way that the rest of you have not seen before. It's noticeable how, like, freakishly kind of calm and in control of themselves compared to everyone else.
I do expect, though, that especially with our telepathic bond, that Ramaka would be able to read things about me and just like little mannerisms that would show some of my deeper conflict and tension and
yeah,
feelings.
Well, of course, Ramaka and Ashani know each other very intimately. I mean, the two of you know each other so well that even the tiniest signs of any kind of emotional reaction and you know how each other think, you know the kinds of things that would bother the other person. I mean, compared to the other two pairings, which are people that have known each other for a few years, the two of you grew up together and you've spent thousands of hours together, so you definitely can read things between the two of you with no difficulty.
And I suspect that our connection would even be fairly obvious. We tend to move at the same time, or, we just work in unison really well.
Yeah. Okay. And the last character is Kyria, who is mine. So, Kyria is a very young looking Eladrin girl. She actually looks like, for an Eladrin, I mean, she's a teenager, obviously. She doesn't even look like she's really an adult compared to maybe other Eladrin that you've seen. And she is wearing heavy armor, she has a big heavy shield, and she has a longsword, but she also has a whip coiled at her belt, which seems a little bit unusual. But as you observe her moving and so forth, you don't see that she really moves like a trained warrior. Like, unlike Zax and Ramaka and Valinar, she doesn't really move like a person who has mastered the use of her body as a weapon. She seems a little bit awkward in her armor. Like, she's not super used to wearing it, and she doesn't look very strong. She's very thin. She's uncommonly pretty for an Eladrin. I mean, most Eladrin are beautiful. That's kind of what a keynote of the race. But she seems exceptionally attractive, and yet a lot of times she kind of likes to look down and let her hair cover part of her face. She has a cloak, a sort of a dark blue cloak with a big hood, and you notice that a lot of times she will bring her hood up and sort of conceal her hair and face, even if it's hot. So she seems like she's uncomfortable with her appearance, and she doesn't want people looking at her unless she's trying to speak to you. Then she kind of becomes more bold, but the rest of the time she kind of looks like she's trying to blend in to the background when in fact she doesn't blend in very well at all. And you see no exposed skin anywhere on her below her neck. Even her hands, she constantly has gloves on. And it's interesting because she seems to go back and forth between two sort of bearings. On the one hand, she's got this bearing where she seems sort of unsure of herself. She seems closed off. She looks like she's trying to avoid people. She looks like she's trying to be unnoticed. She looks like she's uncomfortable in her armor, like I said, and like she doesn't really feel confident or know what she's doing, and she kind of shrinks back and hides behind Zax a little bit. On the other hand, sometimes when she starts speaking, it's like all of that just goes away, and all of a sudden she becomes really confident and like regal and imperious even in her tone, like she is used to being listened to and obeyed. But then after she kind of stops speaking, that kind of goes away and she shrinks back into this sort of strangely subdued version of herself. So that's what you guys see about Kyria. And now everyone has described themselves. We all know who we're dealing with.
And
So
now, if anything funny happens,
Oh, I did forget to mention one thing. Well, she does appear human. She almost has like a subtle ethereal quality that makes her seem beautiful or engaging.
Yeah,
But it's hard to pin down.
I definitely see that with Ashani. Both Ashani and Kyria have very, very high charisma, which I think is a thing that everyone can just pick up as soon as you look at them. It's beyond physical beauty. It's they have a factor about them that you can't quite put your finger on that just makes you like them. That just makes you, they're inspiring. There's something about their presence. And this is true for both of them, for Kyria and Ashani, that they're just kind of like, you can just tell, you know, when you meet somebody that's just like that, that's just impressive automatically. They're like that. So you're all in there. You're eating. Some people are eating. Rain is loving that chicken. He's tearing it up. He eats it very quickly and then like looks at you for more.
Ramaka does not give in to the dog's demands. She is very resilient to puppy eyes.
Well, she's looking at Howling Sky.
Mm-hmm.
Or he. I'm sorry, Rain's a he.
Over very slowly and take like a platter and put more food on it and put it on the floor.
All right.
Because I've already gotten chastised for not putting food on plates.
Okay, nice. So this time it's on a plate, and Rain just attacks it.
It's
Just like you, Rain seems to always have an appetite.
Yeah. Well, that's how wolves work. They eat as much as they humanly can when they can, because they don't know when the next time they'll have food is.
Yeah, and it makes sense that Howling Sky herself would have that mindset.
Yeah.
So, is anybody else saying anything?
Ramaka's probably having, you know, her telepathic conversations with Ashani, but not actually talking to anyone else, just kind of like nodding and looking in Ashani's direction.
Yeah, and I'm giving Howling Sky just a nod of approval.
What is Zax doing?
Zax probably gets himself a platter loads it up with like meats and some cheeses. Makes sure that Kyria also gets some food, and then he's just sort of standing by, keeping an eye on the room. His ears are like, I imagine bugbear ears kind of work the way that animal ears do to some extent, so like they sort of prick up as he's paying attention to like the sounds around him.
Okay. Kyria kind of sidles up next to Zax, and she like refuses a plate of her own. She's like, "Oh no, I don't want a plate. I'm okay." But then she immediately starts picking stuff off of Zax's plate and eating it, which is kind of a thing that she likes to do. And the rest of
Zax,
you notice... Or go ahead, Brian.
Zax like very pointedly looks at her as she does this, but he doesn't say anything.
You notice that Kyria is very close to Zax, like physically. She just nestles right up against him with no sense of discomfort or, you know, I mean, it looks weird almost as you look at the two of them, because she's this beautiful Eladrin girl and he's a bugbear, and they should be enemies at the least, or at the, you know, or it would make the most sense for her to be like disgusted by him or afraid of him, and yet she just like acts like he's her brother or something, and there's an intimacy there between them that seems unusual. I mean, there's not a romantic, you don't get a romantic vibe from it. It's just more like siblings almost. She says so, as she's eating a little piece of cheese. This is quite good. She sounds surprised, like she wasn't expecting the food to be good here. Which, again, seems a little strange, considering this place looks like it's this super palatial, rich place, so this food is probably like the most expensive food you can get in the city. And she seems surprised that it's good. So, I guess all of us are going to be working together, if this Master Allah Amar wishes to hire us. I guess he wants us to work as a team, most likely, don't you think?
That seems like the most probable route of things.
Well then, I suppose we should...
Guy's gonna look at Valinar and be like very serious look and be like, "We have to work with Zax's thing."
Yes, we have to work with that thing.
I'm right here.
I think we've established that he is a person, not a thing.
I can hear you talking.
Kyria stands up, and all of a sudden she looks regal and imperious again, rather than kind of hunched over and unsure of herself. She nods thankfully at Ramaka, but then she says, "He is not a thing. He is a person. He has thoughts and feelings, hopes and dreams, and fears just like the rest of us. When you cut him, he bleeds. When you take away something he loves, he cries. He is just like us."
Dear girl, do not take our meaning so literally. Language is not Sky's forte.
Pardon my assumption, but it did sound as if she knew exactly what she was saying when she called him a thing.
Honestly, it looks to me like of the two of you, and she points at Howling Sky and Rain, the wolf is the most civilized one. No offense.
Can I have Rain burp right at that moment when she says that?
Yes.
You what?
Rain, like right as she says that Rain's the more civilized one, Rain's just gonna burp.
Okay.
I have a question.
Wolf burp.
I have a question for you. And Zax like nods at Valinar.
What is your question, Sir Zax?
What is a forte?
A forte is like a castle.
Zax, Kyria kind of
Zax
smirks.
nods like he's trying to understand, but it's very
Yes.
clear that he's still confused.
It is distinguished from a Fort B, you see. Or a Fort
Exactly.
C. And she smirks. She actually winks at Valinar.
Yes.
I will
Correct.
smile kindly and say, it is someone's particular talent.
Ah, so it is one of those.
We got live action rain roleplay happening.
Yeah, jeez. Sorry about that. I think my dog thinks he sees something.
He wants to play.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So
So it seems
rest of-
unusual that we are invited to this grand place and left waiting for so long.
It is.
Maybe he died.
The invitation is unusual, but people of this sort of power, it is not uncommon for them to arrive on their own time.
And leave their guests unattended?
By the craziest coincidence, just as you say arrive on their own time, the door to the room swings open, the heavy, fancy wooden door, and a man strides into the room. He's an
been waiting
older...
for someone to say that for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, he's had his ear up to the door. He's like, I'm just gonna wait till they say something about it. He's an older Kalashite man, very distinguished in appearance and noble of bearing, but he's obviously still strong and full of vitality, and he moves like a soldier. He stands up straight and proud, and he looks around the room with keen, perceptive eyes. His clothing is obviously of high quality, but it's not the typical rich garments of the wealthy in Calimshan. In fact, his clothing is not made of expensive materials. It looks like it's made of simple, common materials, and it's lacking embroidery or other decorations. He doesn't have any jewelry. His clothes are nice, but they're not a rich person's clothes. He's not trying to show off his wealth ostentatiously in his clothing or personal adornments, as he doesn't have any, which is a little bit surprising. He walks into the room, and I do have a picture for you. Have a picture. This is the man himself coming into the room. And he looks at you all with a broad smile, and he greets you in a loud, warm, friendly voice. Ah, my friends, welcome to my home. I am glad you have come. Now, I hope you're comfortable, for we have much to speak of. And with that, we'll end the game.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So that is it for this session. Let's take the last 5 minutes here and let me check in with you all for some feedback. How did you like it? Did you have fun? Did it disappoint you in some way?
I loved it. I love the NPCs. They seem like engaging and like they've actually got stuff going on. Like they're not just generic NPC with personality A, B, C. So it feels like alive.
I thought it was really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great time.
Yeah.
Seemed really cool. As much as I like dice rolling, I don't think I've ever played through 4 hours of D&D and had 2 collective dice rolls for the whole group, and it felt refreshing.
Yeah, it's really nice to have the focus on like the interaction.
Yeah, I mean, I should tell you that every session is not going to be like this, right? it's going to depend on what's happening. We didn't get very far in advancing the story here, obviously, and we might not next time either. But this is the beginning, and there's a lot of initial establishing roleplay that I think needs to happen.
I really appreciate that part too. It's not just, throwing us in right off the bat. We get to know each other in character and kind of out of character too a bit in this session. So all of it was really nice.
I agree. I think it's awkward to just say, and you all know each other, or you don't know each other, but you suddenly feel really inspired to work together for no particular reason.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that.
And instead really have that chance to form those relationships.
You're sort of getting a sense of the world and the characters in the group just sort of taking shape.
And it provides for more organic team interaction later on, I think, because by having us sort of come together in the first session, this enabled nice way we can have more interactions down the line of working out differences and talking about similarities and that sort of thing, and having that happen as part of the game instead of just sort of oh yeah, that's all in the background.
Yeah, I mean, when I ran this before with the first group, which was a very different group of players, the entire beginning of the game, including everything that you guys have done and the whole conversation you're going to have with Allah Amar, which will probably be pretty lengthy, all of that only took an hour with that group. And then they were on and cracking and traveling. And I didn't want it to be that way this time because I wanted to give you that time to get to know each other and to get the characters established so we know who these characters are.
Yeah, I think there were some really fun, establishing personalities, especially with the boy. Every different group had a different way to interact with him, and I think it can really help us, understand how our characters fully work when you throw them into roleplay right off the bat.
Some people were kind to him, some people tripped him.
Some people licked him.
Yeah. Lick and
that
trip.
Poor boy.
It's a classic combo.
It was. I don't know how he was deceiving us exactly, but he was deceiving us. So
No,
He
I
was.
love it. I love the diversity of characters, and I love the different ways of playing them. And it's just, I'm really excited about this group.
It must have taken you a while to come up with, 6 complementary characters with these interweaving backstories and.
I worked on them pretty hard. Yeah. I did. I'm proud of these characters. I like them a lot. And I think you guys are doing a great job role-playing them.
Yay!
yay.
Yay.
So next session will probably be a lot like this one. We might not spend all 4 hours role-playing next session, but there's still going to be quite a bit of role-playing that's going to happen before you move on and start doing something else. But then again, it won't be that way every time. There may be sessions where combat takes up the majority of the session. And like I said before, I want combats to be role-playing scenes as well. So hopefully we'll all continue role-playing even if there is a combat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some sessions will be all roleplay. Some sessions will be partial roleplay and partial combat. Again, though, combat is also roleplay, so there's really no such thing as partial roleplay and partial combat. What I should say is partial pure dialogue versus combat and roleplay. So it will vary depending, but I hope everybody enjoys it going forward, and that you all had a good time today. I did, by the way. I thought it was really fun. I really liked all of you as players quite a lot, so good job.
Yeah, I'm having a blast.
Yeah,
It's really good
Absolutely.
fun.
There were some nice funny moments as well. Some comedy, both intentional and unintentional.
Ugh. I want that scarf simulator, man.
I know.
Scarf
I
shopping.
mentioned to a friend what we were doing, and he goes, "DM must hate you right now." And I said, "No, he's planning on changing it to scarf."
Yeah, we can definitely look into additional scarf shop management opportunities in the future.
And if
It'll
we
be
do
the
webcams,
arc-long side quest of the campaign.
and
Yeah.
if we use webcams, I have so many different scarves. I can have a different scarf every time.
This will be our Paragon adventure. We open up a magical scarf shop and we travel around the world selling scarves.
I'm gonna have to remember to ask you like every day. Okay, what scarf is your character wearing now?
Oh, for sure.
We could even like take a page from Fluvogs. I don't know if you know them, but they're really expensive shoes that have messages on the bottom.
Oh my
The
goodness.
point being, when you make a footprint, you spread hope and love and everything all over the world.
Oh, nice.
I
That's
love
cool,
it.
actually.
But we could have like scarves of light all over the world.
So I encourage you in the time between now and the next session, I do encourage you to speak with each other. Those of you, your counterpart, the other person who's playing the character that your character is partnered with, either via email, and if you do email, then CC me in on that so I can see what it's about, or you can just talk to each other on Discord or whatever, just to get more ideas bounced off each other and get more used to the idea of your characters being so close and so forth. And Brian, if you want to talk to me more about Kyria and Zax, just let me know.
Yep, will do.
And we will start this again the same time next Saturday. Everybody can make it?
I
Yes.
believe so.
Yep.
Sweet. So then I guess I'll see you then.
All right. Bye-bye.
Perfect. See you all
Okay.
next week.
Yeah. See everybody later.
Have a nice
Bye.
evening, guys.
You too.